Good evening. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Newport News School Board for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. On behalf of the members of the school board and Dr. Parker, I welcome each of you present this evening and those who are watching on TV and online. A quorum is present to transact the business of the school division. We will begin tonight's meeting with the invocation and pledge to the flag. Here to do the honors are two students from Ella Fitzgerald Middle School, Devon Sincere Handsome, I like that name, and Jasmine Jackson. First, Jasmine will come forward and provide the invocation, and then she will be followed by Devon, who will lead us in the pledge. So Jasmine, will you please come forward and tell us a little bit about yourself before you begin?
Hi everybody, my name is Jasmine Jackson. I like dogs and I'm a part of gymnastics. I also love my baby cousin.
Oh, thank you. And your invocation?
Good evening, members of the school board, Chairman Searles Law and Dr. Parker. My name is Jasmine Jackson. I am a 7th grade student at Ella Fitzgerald Middle School. I like listening to music and I like spending time with my family. I would like to share an excerpt from the poem entitled "In This Place" by Amanda Gorman. There's a poem in this place, a poem in America, a poet in every American, who rewrites this nation, who tells a story worthy of being told on this minnow of an earth. To breathe hope into a palimpsest of time, a poet in every American, who sings that our poem pen doesn't mean our poems end. There's a place where this poem dwells. It is here, it is now, in the yellow song of dawn's bell. Where we write an American lyric, we are just beginning to tell. Thank you.
Thank you. Vaughn, will you come forward too and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good evening, members of the school board, Chairman Searles Law, and Dr. Parker. My name is Sincere Handsome. I am a 6th grade student at Ella Fitzgerald Middle School. I am a member of the Youth Development Committee and Anime Club. I like to read and draw in my spare time. I will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you both participating in tonight's meeting, and you did a wonderful job. Supporting both of our students this evening are their families and members from their family school. May we have them stand? And let's give you guys a thank you. We really do appreciate you sharing them with us. The board appreciates also the encouragement you have all given students in our area, and we thank you for the support, coming forth for us this evening. The next item on tonight's agenda is the school board recognitions. Dr. Parker, please join me at the podium.
Tonight I have the honor of presenting this month's school board recognition. Over the past several years, the Newport News Public Schools budget development process has focused on gathering input, identifying funding priorities, and pinpointing ways to reduce spending to ensure the district's financial resiliency, as outlined in Journey 2025, our strategic plan. The budget document continues to evolve as well. It is user-friendly and understandable and includes much more historical and statistical information. The transformation is noteworthy and award-winning. Newport News Public Schools 22-23 budget has earned the Association of School Business Officials International Meritorious Budget Award for Excellence in Budget Presentation. Joining us to accept this recognition this evening are two members of the budget team. Please congratulate Irene Lopez, Budget Supervisor. Ms. Lopez. And Casey Spencer, Senior Budget Analyst. I'd also like to acknowledge two members of the budget team that were unable to join us this evening, Leslie McLeese, Senior Budget Analyst, and Stacy James, Grant Accounts Analyst. Please give them a round of applause as well. I'd also be remiss if we didn't acknowledge our Chief Financial Officer, Scarlett Minto. Thank you. The 2022-23 budget was reviewed by a committee of association members and outside reviewers with experience in public sector budgeting. The review not only provides the team with guidance regarding budget development, it also gives our budget team feedback in developing and analyzing a budget document. To earn the Meritorious Budget Award, budget documents have to meet stringent criteria. The document has to be clear and understandable, and it must include up-to-date budget practices, demonstrate sound fiscal management practices, and the effective use of educational resources. The review team's award letter noted that the school division's budget document includes a wealth of information in graphic and narrative form. The team also shared that the budget is user-friendly and boasts an abundance of data presented in different forms to meet the needs of varied readers. Newport News Public Schools is to be congratulated for their continuous efforts to pursue the Meritorious Budget Award and to continuously improve their budget document. I'd like to note that this is the 13th consecutive year that Newport News Public Schools has earned this budget award. Thank you, ladies, and congratulations on the job well done. Congratulations to our budget team. That concludes our presentation for tonight. At this time, we're going to take about a 6-minute break so that our honorees and the young folks who did our invocation and pledge may leave if they choose to do so. During this time, our viewing audience will have an opportunity to view this month's School Board Spotlight. So we'll stand in recess for about 6 minutes. Thank you.
Since the unfathomable shooting of first grade teacher Abby Zwerner at Rich Neck Elementary, the response of love, kindness, and support from across Newport News Public Schools has been amazing. During the weekend following the tragedy, schools, educators, and families across the peninsula and beyond blanketed social media sites with words of support and caring messages. Macintosh art teacher Tiffany Murchison drew a powerful image of Macintosh's Scotty mascot hugging a Rich Neck raccoon. Educators from Rich Neck's neighboring elementary schools, General Stanford, Greenwood, and Macintosh, took time to decorate the front of the school with positive quotes, hearts, and warm wishes, creating an inviting welcome when staff and students returned to the school. The teachers just wanted to do something to let Rich Neck know they are loved and in all of our thoughts. The following week, educators and students in Newport News and surrounding cities showed their unified support by dressing in green and black, Rich Neck's school colors. Some educators even had custom shirts designed declaring, "We are all Rich Neck strong." With many classrooms writing cards of support for Abby as she recovers, our community continues to keep her and the Richneck family in our hearts and prayers. Students, families, and staff at an Achievable Dream Academy embodied the spirit of giving this holiday season. For 3 weeks through December, the elementary students and their families were invited to participate in the Big Dreamer Give Back. Kindergarten through 2nd grade students brought in non-perishable food items to be donated to the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank, while 3rd through 5th grade dreamers collected hats, gloves, socks, blankets, and other winter accessories to be donated to the Newsom House. Student leaders and ambassadors organized the massive donations, which helped a number of families in Newport News enjoy a warmer and brighter holiday season. 6 elementary schools partnered with the One City Celebrations Holiday Food Drive to rally against childhood hunger. For over 2 weeks through December, the students and staff at Greenwood, Jenkins, Johnson, McIntosh, Sedgefield, and Stony Run elementary schools collected canned and non-perishable food items. Family and community engagement specialists at each school organized the One Can Make a Difference Canned Food Drive, a friendly competition to see which of the 6 elementary schools could collect the most food items. Greenwood Elementary came out on top, collecting over 1,300 canned goods. Many of the schools offered extra incentives, such as pizza and ice cream parties for the classes that collected the most donations. Through their collective efforts, our schools donated thousands of food items to the 21st annual One City Celebrations Holiday Food Drive. On the Monday before Christmas at Denby Community Center, a small army of community volunteers, city employees, educators, and airmen from Joint Base Langley Eustis handed out bags of food, toys, and winter clothing to families. Books on Bikes Newport News was on site to hand out brand new free books and holiday treats to encourage students to continue reading during the winter break. And family and community engagement specialists assisted students who were selected to receive their own brand new bicycle, gladly handing out 60 bikes to students from 8 different schools. Through school, city, military, and community partnerships, over 500 families celebrated a holiday free from hunger. The Related Arts team at Greenwood Elementary is having a ball this school year. Since the FIFA World Cup takes place every 4 years, this was the perfect time to embrace the international tournament. So the resource team kicked around some ideas and designed a winning game plan. In their homeroom classes, teachers assisted 3rd through 5th grade students in selecting a country for each class to represent. During their weekly library time, students explored their country of focus. They learned valuable research skills and how to correctly cite their sources, using websites and books to learn about their country's famous landmarks, climate, currency, exports, and other interesting facts. In art class, students were learning about graffiti pop art and mosaic shapes, and then used these styles of illustrating to design and create custom banners for each country. In their physical education class, students enjoyed learning to play American soccer, known internationally as football. For many students, this was a fun way to learn a new sport by focusing on soccer skills, rules of the game, and how to work together as a team to score goals. For the culminating event, each grade level held their own World Cup tournament on custom soccer fields behind Greenwood. Students enjoyed putting their new skills to the test in friendly competitions between each country, while some students helped cheer on their team from the sideline, holding the banners they made in art class and reciting cheers they rehearsed with their music teacher. Among the matches were some surprising upsets, with Serbia winning over Germany and powerhouse France falling to Uruguay. And unlike the real 2022 World Cup, Greenwood's Argentina did not host the trophy after losing to Brazil. Thanks to Greenwood's Related Arts teachers and their ability to create an engaging and cohesive learning experience around a timely global celebration, students at Greenwood gained appreciation for a new sport while learning about countries all around the world. At Palmer Elementary, related arts teachers are cooking up something special for 5th grade students. During each marking period, students earn points for good behavior in each of their related arts classes. By obtaining a set number of points, select 5th graders are then invited to an exciting food investigation. At the end of the first marking period in November, students were excited to combine crispy snacks with science exploration to defy the very laws of gravity. When planning the food investigation, the 5-person related arts team identifies specific science lessons 5th graders are currently learning to make the hands-on activity relevant and timely. To reinforce concepts of gravity and friction, 5th graders teamed up to tackle the Pringles Ring STEM Challenge. Using a container of curved Pringles chips, each team attempted to construct an engineering wonder while drawing on their own scientific knowledge in a fun and creative way. By supporting classroom instruction and reinforcing positive behaviors, the related arts team at Palmer is offering students some serious food for thought.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this month's School Board Spotlight. During our regular meetings, we provide time for the public to address the school board. These opportunities are scheduled in the early part of our agenda and also towards the end of the meeting. As advertised, citizens may submit comments via email up until 30 minutes prior to our meeting time to be included in the official meeting records. For those of you joining us in person, the board considers this an opportunity to listen to your comments. Please understand that we will consider your concerns. We ask that you comply with our 3-minute time limit, especially this evening. As you begin your comments, a green light will come on here on the side of the dais. A yellow light signals that you have 30 seconds remaining, and a red light and beep indicate your time is up. As your name is called, please come forward. First, I have Doug Marmon. Doug Marmon.
Good evening. I am Doug Marmon. I have 4 children who've attended Newport News Public Schools, 2 of which are current students. The return to school on January 3rd began with a great deal of concern for my family due to the school shooting threat that was leveled against Mitchellville High School. I found this threat as I arrived at the school that morning and saw all the Newport News police cars. I was not informed of this threat by the Newport News schools. The week ended with the elementary school shooting at Rich Neck. What an eye-opener. We have serious issues in our community, and we must stop ignoring them and address them head-on. I apologize in advance for my abruptness. 3 minutes is rather short to address all my concerns. First, I think we need to remove all members of Newport News Public School executive leadership. The leadership must be held accountable for the resulting actions, and the failure of their imagination of what could happen needs to end with this team. Second, we need to ensure that the student never returns to Newport News Public Schools. Additionally, we need to ensure that our school security officers, which are employed by the school board, are actually managed in accordance with the Code of Virginia. I recommend establishing a director of security as a direct report to the school board and a member of the superintendent's executive leadership team. I recommend increasing the number of school security officers in the elementary schools to 2, a minimum of 2 for each elementary school, and then seriously evaluate the numbers for the other schools to ensure the appropriate staffing levels. I recommend they start utilizing substitute security officers when there are absences and consider seeking volunteers for short duration needs such as the morning drop-offs. Last and most importantly, we must end the positive behavioral interventions and support program that has proven ineffective at addressing disciplinary issues within our schools. A review of the youth development benchmark data since 2012, which is provided in the annual budget, shows a continued decline in behavior since the implementation. Most shocking was in 2021 and 22, when we had a 23.3% increase in suspensions of elementary-age children. Students need to be held accountable for their actions, regardless of age or circumstances, not transferred to another school or placed in a different classroom. Equality in our schools should not include the suffering of the majority for the lack of discipline for the few. Thank you for your time.
Next card is from Kimberly Sladen.
If I have something to hand out, this one is specifically for Dr. Parker, and then this is what I'm reading because I ran out of time. They'll all have a chance to read that. As a product of Newport News System, a graduate of Menchville High School class of 2003, a former NNPS employee and a parent of 3 currently enrolled in the school system, I am heartbroken by the events that have happened in our city. My mother retired after 31 years, spending 19 at Rich Neck Elementary, and I only made it as a school nurse at Yates Elementary in your system for 9 months. Due to the way I was spoken to by parents and kids. I am worth more than that, and so are all your employees in your district. I have worked as a nurse for the last 16 years. I have taken care of multiple gunshot wound patients in the ICU and saved their lives and lost other lives. Some of the kids in our school system are out of control. The way they talk to their teachers and administrators is beyond comprehensible. As a parent of an NNPS student who had a behavior intervention plan in your school system, I know the lack of resources. I know I had to bend over backwards, miss work, and my child had to miss school to get private counseling. The school system lack of resources for his behavior issues because he was a smart child and his test scores were passing. He was needed in school to continue to receive state funding. I am ready to pull my kids out of this system that made me the person and nurse I am today. From Hydenwood to Gildersleeve to Menchville, those schools are not the same schools I attended in the 90s and 2000s. The buildings are the same, some of the teachers are the same, the students are not the same. We are not holding kids and parents accountable for their actions because we need funding from the state and federal government to teach our kids. I drop my kids off at school every day, and I wonder if they will be home when I come home for work. Do your employees feel safe and supported coming to work? I know many employees, and the collective answer is no. Your employees do not feel safe. How can you as a school board guarantee that every child walks through your doors feels safe? I not only care about my children, but all children in your system. I want behaviors held accountable. I want change. I don't want to have a family dinner where I talk about where my kids will hide in their school. I would rather be discussing archery practice or listening to the adventures of a 4th grade safety patrol. There needs to be accountabilities, and the rights and responsibility handbook, which is in place, needs to be enforced. Our children should have access to safe learning environments each and every day. Our children are not statistics or quotas. They should not be a barometer for our decisions about the safety of our students and staff. Administrators need to acknowledge that there are problems, and parental concerns should not be ignored. Please consider my thoughts carefully, or these are the thoughts of many concerns. Respectfully, Kimberly Sladen. And I would like you to answer the dirty dozen. What is the dirty dozen?
I'm going to call the next 3 comments in this order so that we can be prepared. I believe this is Michelle Nordine. And then next after that will be Charla Clark. And then third, Andrew Halavacek.
Good evening, everyone, board members and Dr. Parker. My name is Michelle Dorneed, and I am the Newport News Council PTA's president, and I would like to talk with you about the level of violence in our schools. Speaking on behalf of the local PTAs in our schools, we appreciate the steps you have taken to address these issues by working to bring security measures to our schools. However, due to mental and emotional issues that have been exacerbated by the pandemic, the amount of violence in our schools has increased. We need to work together to help students learn to handle their anger and frustration in a healthy manner. If our students do not receive this critical and needed help, our schools will continue to be a battlefield for both our teachers and our students. We need to have support staff that meets the national standard. The national standard for guidance counselor to student ratio is set at 1 guidance counselor for every 250 students. For school psychologists, 1 psychologist to every between 500 and 700 students. And for school social workers, the ratio is 1 to 250. Parental engagement is also critical for success. We need to encourage and allow parents to be involved in schools at all grade levels. Parental involvement is closely linked to better student behavior, higher academic achievement, and enhanced social skills. Even though all of our elementary and middle schools have shared family engagement specialists, we need to make sure that our parents feel welcome in our schools. We as a community need to develop a mental health plan and a plan to address school violence and share it with the entire Newport News public school community. We as a community need to develop comprehensive restorative practices to handle disruptive behavior in our schools to encourage positive behavior, a sense of school community, and accountability for our students to be citizen ready. We as a community need to trust and respect our teachers. Since each school is unique, these solutions must be tailored to their specific needs. National PTA's position on school safety is this, quote, "School safety is a critical priority for all parents, educators, students, and community members that cannot be taken for granted. Students and educators have a right to attend schools that are safe and conducive to learning and achievement," end quote. I will also add, our teachers and staff have a right to attend schools that are safe and conducive to their ability to do their job without worry of physical or verbal assaults. We want to support you as a PTA at every school that we have and as a community. Please let us know how we can support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte Clark.
Hi, I am Charlotte Clark. I'm a parent of a child at Denby High School, Mary Passage Middle School, Ella Fitzgerald Middle School, and Dutchell Elementary. Yes, I have 4 boys. I'm here today to bring up a few points. A lot of them are in reference to safety. All we hear and what we're hearing about is all these fancy metal detectors. Biggest questions: who is going to man them? Who is going to maintain them? How are we deciding what schools get what? What happens if a student sets off a detector? Who's searching them? And are the students going to be held accountable for what they're bringing into the schools that are considered illegal? How are you going to let the students and the staff and the parents know what these metal detectors are about? Because we've heard, that's all we hear, we're bringing metal detectors in. Well, what's going to happen? As it is for the safety of our children, part of it is trusting when the teachers have an issue and they can actually see the concerns are taken care of. Many teachers of NNPS have been with NNPS for quite some time, and they know when to report an issue, and I would hope that the admin here in this building would actually trust them. Get the parents involved. In the past, I've been asked to join many different committees with the school board or helping NNPS schools, and I have yet to be asked, and I want to help. Parents are going to have to be more involved with their children's education to help curb these behavior issues, so get them involved. The schools need to communicate more with the parents on things going on, activities coming up, having town halls for parents to attend to maybe curb these behavior issues and help out. Once kids get into middle school, we get some notifications. High school, we get some. But, they put them on the morning announcements for the kids to listen to. The kids don't care. It's the parents that care. Let the parents know what are going on. Students laugh or giggle when they get wrote up because they know there's no consequences. It's a behavior form. Whoop! I'll sign it and go about my way. As they feel that nothing really happens from the the disrespect, the code of conduct, the dress code, or even attendance, especially substitute teachers, as they don't think they're serious. They're a laughing joke when a substitute comes in, then the teachers have to deal with it the next day. We have a Rights and Responsibility Handbook. Hold the students and families accountable. Yes, every child deserves an education, but the staff needs to feel safe and trusted, and the students need to feel safe to attend school, go to the restrooms, and be able to learn. Parents have to parent, and I know everybody wants to blame somebody, and they're going to blame the teachers. Yes, there's going to be bad apples, but that's on the admin to fix. But if it's a student, obviously there's an issue, and that needs to be addressed. Stop hiding safety issues at the school and report and make reports accessible for the parents to know what is actually going on.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Andrew Lavacek.
Good evening. I'd like to say thank you to all the parents, staff, and especially the students that have come out to speak this evening. I would also like to say thank you to all of you for hopefully listening to us for once. Everyone here is going to have a different point of view or feelings about this whole situation. I know 4 of you fairly well. We just had a campaign against each other. Mr. Brown, you and I ran campaigns against each other, and you said that I helped make the school safer. I appreciate that, but the schools apparently are not safer. We've had 3 school shootings in 16 months here in Newport News. After this last one, you finally found funding for more metal detectors. Well, it's about time. Thank you for finally seeing what I was saying during my whole campaign. All these issues are issues I had during mine. It shouldn't have taken this long to protect our children, your children, and in some cases, people's grandchildren. Now I can stand up here and ask that you all resign and the superintendent resign, but I'm not going to do that. I'm sure plenty of other speakers will, though. What I will do is I'll offer some suggestions. Instead of getting metal detectors, why don't we hire more school safety officers? Yes. Why don't we give the teachers back power in their classrooms? Yes. When I was on the campaign trail, I ran into an administrator of a local high school, and they asked me how I felt about giving teachers their classroom back. I said, let's do it. So, for example, a student cusses at a teacher. Teacher gives them a warning. The student does it again, write a paragraph or an essay on why you shouldn't speak to your teacher like that. A third time, you say? All right. Teacher sends the child to the principal's office. The principal calls the parents and informs them of their child's behavior to hold that parent accountable too, and then sends the child to ISS. It's just one example. I say this because while I was on the campaign trail also, I found out that a majority of teachers left one specific school last year. That's unacceptable for a majority to leave. Why did so many leave, I asked. And that person replied, because the administration didn't have their back and they didn't feel safe. We still have the highest vacancy numbers in Hampton Roads, and that will never change if something doesn't happen. You all have my phone number. You can speak to me personally. A couple of you actually told me you'd consider me for some committees if I didn't win. Why don't you make a security committee or a safety committee? Allow veterans, police officers, and security professionals to be on that and make the schools safer. These are just a few suggestions to help with what has been going on in the schools here. My campaign was about safety, students, and parents. I will always be about those. Safety for students and staff, what our students learn and staff teaches. And lastly, I will always be a voice for parents who don't feel like they have one. I will be here holding you accountable for all parents, students, and staff. Just remember, as I said in my first speech, you are all elected officials, and when parents have had enough of you, they will replace you. Unfortunately, elections have consequences. You are our consequences. I'd like to suggest one thing, lastly. A good friend of mine, Marlon Pendergraft, for your open position. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. The next 3 that we will have come to the mic, Evelyn N. Cox, John Crickerin, and Colleen Winthrop. So, Evelyn? Okay, we'll move on to John. I'm trying to read. Krikorian. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready. You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag. We learned that in school. My daughter goes to Warwick High School. Second period. She stands. One of two. In one class, there is no flag. Like the 3 shootings, these are symptoms. Under this administration, learning standards have plummeted. Accountability has been eradicated. Teachers and staff are leaving Newport News in droves. To make matters worse, after each incident, communication is slow, if at all, misleading, and the response feels more like window dressing. Metal detectors with no plan. They've been at Warwick High School for years. They are not used. My fear tonight is that all of these people and all of our words will not be heard by this board, as has been the case for 18 months at least. So I propose real change and action as parents. I propose that we boycott the SOL up through the 8th grade, where there will be no impact on our kids. I have a petition online, change.org, Newport News School Shootings. I have 100 already, close to 100 signed up. Again, 8th grade and below, there's no impact for your student, but it will hit this board and it will hit this school system, and I don't have any joy in that. But it is time for action and not words. I ask that you all join me, parents watching and those that are here, that we demand change in our administration immediately, or else we boycott the SOL. This is not personal. I take no joy. Okay? But to this board, enough is enough. What will it take? I pray it is not a 4th shooting, because that blood will be on your hands.
Has Evelyn Cox joined us? Then we'll go with Colleen Winthrop.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Cox. I'm a parent to 2 6th graders, which attend Glendersleeve Middle School, and a 3rd grader that attends Saunders Elementary School. I myself am a product of Newport News, class of 1993 from Minchville High School. Our teachers in these schools need to be supported by their admin at school level. They need to be supported by the superintendent, Dr. Parker, the school board, and all parents. I've been in schools, my youngest school, where these kids are talking any old kind of way to these adults with no kind of respect whatsoever. And y'all couldn't even pay me to volunteer in these schools with the way these kids talk to teachers and school staff. But with that being said, I support and always have supported the teachers that my 3 daughters have had in the past and currently. I work with teachers if my children are being disrespectful or talk back or academically or whatever the case may be. I've seen so much disrespect among parents and their child or children towards teacher, school staff, like rules do not apply to them. At the end of the day, accountability and consequences need to be paid, because it's not fair to my kids or anybody else's kids that are going to school each day trying to get an education, and they can't even get a valid education because the teachers are stopping to tell Bobby or Susie to please be quiet. And then they get sent to the office, and a few minutes later, they're sent right back to the class to be disruptive again. Again, how is that fair to my kids or anybody else's kids? They're not getting a valid education. And it's sad because it hurts my heart. I went through Minchville. I mean, if you were disruptive, cussed the teacher out, you were suspended for 3 days. After that, you were 5 days, then 10 days, and then expulsion. At that point, when I was in Newport News, Deer Park wasn't an elementary school. It was a school for kids that had issues. and they were sent there as the last resort so they wouldn't be dropouts. But after all, students need to start being held accountable for their bad behavior, because my third grader is coming home now being disrespectful. And my husband and I do not tolerate disrespect in no shape, form, or fashion. And these parents that act like rules don't apply to them and think they can talk to anybody any kind of way, that behavior is learned from their parents, these kids. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And y'all put so much emphasis on SOLs. Y'all need to put more emphasis on suspension, because it's not working. Whatever kind of in-school suspension y'all doing, that is not working at this level right now. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, but thank you.
Rhonda Wagner. Rhonda Wagner. Oh, Colleen, I apologize. I put your card down.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Colleen Renthrope, and I'm a single mother of 2 biracial children being currently educated in this school district. The issue I'm here to speak on is a national one, a fear of all parents that goes beyond socioeconomic status, the color of one's skin, background, or the hot-button issue of gun control. We need our kids and teachers to have the safety of being able to learn and grow in an area where they are not subject to slaughter. I had hope that NNPS would be willing to lead this challenge, but as other concerned community members have observed, this has not been the case. We as parents and teachers are only asking for our elected officials to clean up their own backyard. Yet this is a national problem, and as it has grown, there has been no growth within our own system. Board members, you have lost your way, and you have lost our confidence. The board has chosen closed-door meetings as opposed to inviting some of the most concerned and bright minds in the community to lead the charge. We have had 3 incidents in the past 2 years in our own district, the district that you are charged to protect and grow. The resources are available and often underutilized or not even considered. When the tragedy in Olvade, Texas occurred, I contacted NNPS and NNPD to suggest a plan at 0 cost that would act as A, a deterrent for potential threats with police presence in the school, and B, a community outreach program where students and officers were encouraged to communicate and build healthy, mutually beneficial relationships. I received a generic response from both parties. The problem is that there is a lack of follow-through or even acknowledgement. There is no one single answer to this abhorrent situation that our kids, teachers, and parents find ourselves in daily. I send my kids to school and find myself praying to God that they will return home safely. They go through live shooter drills in which they are instructed to wait quietly at their desks. When asked about these drills, my 7-year-old daughter says that she sits with her head down and cries because she wonders if she will be able to hug her mommy again. My 11-year-old son contemplates exiting a window because he may have a better chance of surviving. This may not be a daily worry for you, but my children and I are terrified. You have lost your way. The boards are have self-serving videos of high graduation rates when we know the standards have been lowered. You need to figure out your priorities. We demand accountability from elected officials. We remind you that just as easily as you won your post, we will vote you out. We demand a return of parental responsibility for children and their actions. We demand that teachers be able to start using fair and just discipline again, not to be ignored by administration. We demand budget transparency. We demand to be informed, active participants in our children's safety and future without a closed door. And I personally demand that the tears of all the students scared to go through the day in the system that you are charged with protecting will haunt you until you make this right. We demand that our kids and teachers come home safe every day. Thank you for your time and consideration. I have little faith that it will be, any change will be made.
Rhonda Wagner. Rhonda Wagner.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Parker. Although we have worked together in another capacity, tonight I am here as an employee and as a parent. I have been fortunate in recent years to have been graced with exceptional administrators. However, that wasn't always the case. I not only witnessed, but was subjected to bullying, harassment, and unprofessional treatment. Good leadership should never rely on these tactics. When employees say they are afraid to speak out, I know why. It still must be done, though. I am asking that the division put in place a system of checks and balances that ensures all administration are transparent and accountable. Asking those in charge to govern themselves does not work. As for the unacceptable behavior on some of our students, we need tangible, immediate solutions. The tips for teachers guidelines that we received Sunday evening was insulting and completely unhelpful. We owe our students who show up ready to learn far better than they are receiving. It may be time to look at the least restrictive environment for all of our students to better determine what environment is best for them. When a student is throwing chairs, the classroom may not be the best place for them either. I know that in the coming weeks, you will have many opportunities to make effective changes. I simply ask that you consider what is best for our students and for our staff. Both groups are crucial. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we have hit the 30-minute mark for comments. I will take care of that. Thank you so much. I'd like to get a motion from a member of the board to extend that amount.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to extend public comment by an additional minutes.
Okay.
Second.
We'll do an additional 30 right now.
My motion, okay, so my motion was for 15 minutes.
He's
Okay.
withdrawing. You withdrawing?
All right, my motion was for 15 minutes.
Okay.
He's withdrawing. What do you want to do?
I was asking the board for a motion. Let's get a second, and then we can.
But what motion, Madam Chairman, was it 30 minutes or?
30 minutes,
Right.
a motion for 30 minutes. We have 41 cards. We're planning to go through each and every card this evening. We just have to do our motions properly based on the posted agenda that we have for our board meeting. So we will listen to you tonight. We appreciate you being here.
Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion to extend the public comments to 30 minutes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
What I heard is, so Mr. Brown, you don't have a motion on the floor for 15
Correct, my
minutes.
motion was not seconded.
Okay. All right. Dr. Best? 4. Mr. Brown?
4.
Mr. Harris?
4.
Mr. Hunter?
4.
Ms. Amon?
4.
Mrs. Searles Law?
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. The next 3 cards that I have, William Finker, Sarah Marchese, I hope I'm not butchering these names. Okay, Marchese, Sarah Marchese, and then Helen Leonard.
Good
William
evening,
Finker.
Ms. Searles Law and members of the board. My name is William Finker. I have an MAT from JMU. I was a member of their middle ed program. I now teach 8th grade science at Gildersleeve Middle School, a subject I love and deeply respect. One topic I spend a lot of time on with my students is constants. In a scientific experiment, a constant is something that is always kept the same, so that whatever the experiment is truly measuring is not muddied by other variables. Gun violence has become a constant for our students. It has been a salient issue in our community for some time now, so much so that our local candidates were asked about their proposed responses in their bios for Wavy TV 10. Gun violence has even made its way into our schools in Menchville, Heritage, and now Rich Neck. All the while, school administration is supposedly following a 5-year plan which promises to, quote, create and maintain a safe and supportive environment that allows students and staff to thrive, end quote. Measures like the addition of metal detectors are being taken reactively, not proactively. If the administration continues to only act after a shooting has taken place, it will happen again. You've spoken publicly about wanting to regain the trust of your teachers. But our trust is not a would-be nice. It is a must-have. Without our trust and cooperation, this district will fail in its mission and further embarrass itself in the eyes of the community, nation, and world. My trust, our trust, is not going to be won back by showing us cherry-picked data that makes you look good. Many of the goals in your 5-year plan cannot realistically be quantified. Attempting to do so obfuscates the reality of our situation. Our students do not feel safe at school. Our students do not have an environment which encourages learning. Our students aren't even fed meals which support their health and positive mindset. Our students are not comfortable discussing their emotions in large group settings or by watching a simple video that looks like it was designed for kindergartners. Our students view school as an obstacle, not a place of growth. And our students do not wonder if there will be another school shooting. They wonder when and where the next shooting will be. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Marchese, and I'm president of the Warwick High School PTSA. The other board members present with me tonight are Jamie Cox, Camilla Deller, and Ford McFall. Like you and our Newport News community, we are saddened and distraught by the shooting at Rich Neck Elementary on January 6th. With 3 shootings in just over a year, it is unacceptable that this is becoming a regular occurrence in our district. We were encouraged to see the Newport News Police, the school board, and other city departments come together to investigate this most recent shooting incident. Dr. Parker stated at the press conference that the school division would also conduct an internal investigation. At all levels of Newport News Public Schools, trust has been lost. One of the steps to returning that trust would be an outside investigation. We are asking for an outside, impartial party to do this investigation. Dr. Ransom gave a student discipline update at the November 2022 school board meeting here in this room. And the district has made strides to keep students with discipline issues in the class so that instructional time is not lost for them. However, I have to ask, are we sacrificing the instructional time of the rest of the class when a student is disruptive or violent and they are not removed? Ransom shared that in the 2021-22 school year, fewer students were being referred. We are concerned that this has become a more common practice for teachers to be left with the burden of handling discipline alone. Yes. We ask for a complete review by all of the policies and procedures for handling discipline issues within our schools, for an outside and impartial party to investigate the student and discipline office, and for the findings of that investigation to be shared with families and the school board so that we can have best practices put in place moving forward. Currently, Warwick High School is an open campus. The board announced plans to purchase 90 metal detectors for all schools in the district. At Warwick, the main building cannot be the only building secured. The entire campus, including the main building, the detached buildings, and the learning cottages, must be secured as a whole. Warwick requires that students leave and return to the main building throughout the day, much like Heritage. Metal detectors and the staff to go with them must cover the entire campus, including all outside areas. The eyes of the city, the state, and the country are watching right now, and Newport News Public Schools has a unique opportunity to take thoughtful action and be an example to other districts in our states, and I think we all want to be a part of that with you. Show our teachers, staff, students, and families you care. Thank you so much.
Members of the school board, Chairman Searles Law, and Dr. Parker. I am Helen Leinard. I'm a parent of a high school student and 2 middle schoolers. The problem that we're facing is at heart a community problem, not a school problem only. Addressing this problem only on a school level does not solve the problem of shootings of children outside of school hours and premises. This is a community problem that has overflowed to the schools. The root and answers lie beyond schools. It includes schools, certainly. But like so many problems in our society, we cannot require teachers and administrators to solve problems that we need to address ourselves as well. A gut reaction, like firing the superintendent, might lead us to feel like our work is done, when in fact this complex problem requires a complex and thoughtful solution. If we retain the leadership, we can hold them accountable for the failings of the last few years. Termination will remain an option, but it makes the possibility of change more challenging in that it requires someone else to step in and learn the rhythms, politics, and relationships of the job. The hole in leadership will take time to fill, and the responsibility in filling that hole will fall to the same people who hired the current leadership. We need to assess this situation, either with a community advisory committee or an outside consultant, and then take appropriate action. That may include a change in administration. But assessment of the best course should be taken before action is taken.
Our next three are Charlie Farrell, Deefa Lee, and Cassandra Pacheco. Cassandra Pacheco, I think this is.
Hello, I'm Charlie Farrell. I'm a junior at Warwick High School, and this is a poem I wrote about comparing road safety and school safety. Why do I feel safer on the roads than I do at school? Driving, rules of the road, something we have a whole class on at school. Rules for the road are in place to ensure every type of driver safety. If every driver follows these structured rules, no crashes will happen. Newport News Public Schools has no solid lines, no red or green lights to ensure our safety. Going to school is like being on a busy highway with no signs or signals. Danger is upon us. Drivers can be good or bad, but if there's no signs or signals to follow, it creates a dangerous road. You are driving recklessly right now. Roads cannot determine when a reckless driver is going to strike, but there are steps and procedures we can go through to avoid accidents. How are you avoiding accidents in our schools? There are no metal detectors to ensure drivers are not able to use road rage. There are no solid yellow lines making sure our students cannot cross traffic. Newport News Public Schools is allowing any reckless driver to cross our school campus and cause an accident, putting pain and fear on all of us safe drivers. Because of the lack of safety procedures, students do not feel safe driving on your roads. I cannot switch lanes if someone is speeding up behind me without an officer to stop them. Where is our officer? I will not go behind the wheel if I do not feel the conditions of the roads are not safe. Why are the roads always slippery at school? No one can stop reckless drivers from doing what they want, but you can put speed limits so they know their consequences. In school, there are no speed limits or speed bumps to prevent reckless students from continuing harm. What is it going to take for Newport News Public Schools to start protecting their drivers and pulling over the ones who are a threat to us? 3 crashes in your roads and there's still no speed bumps to stop reckless drivers. The difference is these are lives at stakes, and families want road construction to start. A traffic cone won't do anymore.
Deefa Lee. Hello.
This is my daughter Mila. I'm a Newport News educator of 8 years, and I'm also a mother of a Newport News student, and I'm proud to be both. Although concerned, proud. Given the current events, I appreciate your swift action to ensure all of our safety by including a plan for metal detectors and clear backpacks. I appreciate that Newport News is trying to act reactively, but I'm also just as much concerned that this is a reactive approach. We are far past due an analysis of the root cause of all of this and what is going on in our communities and what is the lack that we have not addressed. I'm also concerned about the fact that referrals are so closely tied to accreditation, and this puts educators and office staff or administrators in a tough position. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They want to represent their school well and be able to show numbers that are representative of their community, but also they're penalized for referral numbers that are high. It's time that we take an honest look at real data that is not skewed by the fear of affecting accreditation. It's time that we talk about preventative measures that we can take and have conversations that are not inclusive of teachers, but are led by teachers. We are in the classroom. We are in the classroom every day. We see what is happening. A lot of these things do not make front page news. We see people students being assaulted. We see teachers being assaulted on a daily. And these are things that may not even reach your gaze, but we see it, we experience it every day. My daughter sometimes goes to the restroom, and the highlight of her day, when I asked her at the end of the day, hey, how was your day? She can't even speak on what she learned, but she can tell you that she was unable to go to the restroom because there was a fight in the hallway. Do we hear about it? No. Are those students reprimanded? No. And that's not okay. That's just not okay. And for it to be the norm really is just, it's baffling. It's truly baffling. We stand proud every morning and we pledge allegiance to the flag. But what are our government officials doing for us? What are y'all doing for us? What are y'all doing for our future? Now, I have to say that I'm proposing a solution. I would love to see a focus group put together for Newport News Public Schools that would include teachers and teachers alone, that would guide the conversation. I would also like to see that consequences find their way back in Newport News Public Schools. We have really failed our students under the guise of grace, under the guise of showing grace. And this grace has turned into enabling. We have failed our students. We have failed to prepare them to be college, career, and citizen ready. We have failed.
Cassandra Pacheco? There she is. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Pacheco, and this is my third year teaching at the elementary level within our community. I've met and learned from some wonderful educators who are passionate about working with our students to overcome some academic gaps that have occurred through COVID. Throughout my teaching here, I've had the pleasure of working with a population I love here in Newport News, but it's not without some challenges. As we transitioned from virtual learning to hybrid to in-person instruction, I grow more and more concerned with some of the challenging behaviors I've noticed within our student population. It is to the point that I see the passion of many of my colleagues dwindling as many of them leave the profession. Though it saddens me to admit this, with the recent shooting at Richneck, I too question whether I wish to stay in this profession as family members and loved ones fear for my safety. Though the district has equipped us with some strategies and resources to help with these students, there is a desperate need to address these behaviors in all grade levels. Short tempers, uncontrolled rage, and unregulated emotions frequently go unchecked in our schools. A lack of consequences, lack of counseling, and lack of rehabilitative services are what I believe contribute to these escalating behaviors. Our goal is to help our students become college, career, and citizen ready. And so I propose we allocate more funds to employ more mental health and counseling professionals to help address the needs of our students. I would also propose we survey our schools and distribute these staff where they are most needed. If we don't have these professionals available immediately, I ask that we consider searching for these professionals as a top priority. I request that we consider a proactive approach as opposed to a reactive one, where we follow logical consequences to behavior. Clear backpacks and walk-through metal detectors do not address the root cause of the issue. In closing, we have focused so much on college and career In closing, we have focused so much on college and career readiness that we have neglected the citizen aspect of our motto. I thank you for granting me the time and the opportunity to speak here. Thank you.
The next two I have are Jay Pruden, and Amanda Bartley.
Good evening. I guess you can hear me. My name is Jay Pruden. I come before you because I'm trying to give you a little bit of timeline here. I ran for school board back in 2018. And the reason I ran for school board was because I was concerned about Newport News Public Schools' performance. And the second issue I was concerned about is having a teacher-centric procedure versus an administrative-centric procedures. So there's a big difference between the two, and unfortunately I don't feel Newport News is following the teacher-centric procedures. But I look upon 2018 and I look forward to 2023, and I know that a lot of you up here ran on a safety platform, okay, Safe Schools. That was 2018. It was also the time that the new superintendent was coming on board. So we've gone through 5 years, and I'm sitting here saying to myself, I'm not seeing much change on the performance of Newport News Public Schools over the last 5 years. And I've seen a degradation of the safety issues from Newport News, especially in the last 2 years. And I know some of this is COVID related. So I look at this, and the only way that I see that subtle or changes is going to have to take place in this scenario is I believe that you're going to need a change in leadership. And I say that tongue-in-cheek only because I believe that I've kind of lost faith in anything that comes out of the school system these days, and that's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that a lot of my friends, my wife's friends, and I are teachers and administrators in the Newport News public systems. And the conversations I have with them are not positive here in the last year or two. They're afraid, and this incident happens to be in a classroom, which we have to have some control. So I know the previous speakers talked about community, and this is a community issues. But I don't think we have the leadership to even combine school and community together to solve this. And you hear a lot of stories. I think there's a lot of solutions. But I believe it requires a different leadership style than what we have here in Newport News. And I hope you have the moxie to make this decision. I really do. Because you can't change the past. You can only impact the future. So the only way I can see you impacting the future in a positive way is we need to change the leadership. Thank you.
Amanda Bartley.
Good evening, members of the board, fellow staff, and fellow parents. My name is Amanda Bartley, and I have a 6th and 4th grader here in Newport News. I am also a staff member. I have worked as an assistant for Newport News since 2006, and I'm now an official first-year teacher, starting at Heidenwood, and then transferred to Knollwood Meadows 6 weeks into the school year. I am here to speak on staff and school safety and student discipline. It was just a matter of time before something like this happened, to be honest. Teachers often joke about how students get sent to the office for a discipline problem, and they come back 10 minutes later with a snack and a pat on the back. But it's not a joke. It happens every day, not just in Newport News, but across the country. The student code of conduct is often not followed, and students are not punished because it would affect attendance, school ratings, and funding, not to mention parents who can't afford to take time off to take care of their suspended school students. What really is happening is that students are quickly learning that they can do anything they want with little to no consequence. Dr. Parker's multiple emails this morning were just words. When was the last time any of you were in a classroom for longer than a photo opportunity? Actually talking to teachers, actually seeing and talking to the students who are doing the offending to find out why. I was named Support Staff of the Year at Heidenwood last year, and do you know why? Because I worked as a teacher without the teacher pay. Teacher pay, that's a whole different discussion for another day. Anyway, I taught a 4th grade classroom with the most of the most difficult students in that grade. How many fights did I have to break up? How many times did I have to call for security or admin to help deal with my students? I was blessed to have administrators in my building backing me up and suspending the students, but those kids need more than a day out of school so they can sit at home and make Instagram videos. They need mental health services, social emotional learning classes, parental classes, in-school suspension, and other supports in place our district is not capable of handling. The caring school curriculum is not enough. I was asked, hold on, I got 3 minutes. I was asked last night how many school psychologists we have at Newport News. I'm not sure, but the website says each psychologist has at least 2 to 3 schools on their caseload. And their workload is filled with SSTs and IEPs. They don't have time to do anything else. And one guidance counselor for 300 students at an elementary school is ludicrous. There are things that can be done, but are we as a city and school district and a society ready to make those changes? Metal detectors are just a Band-Aid for a much bigger wound, one that we are not ready to care for. The next step is wound cleaning, which includes the immediate removal of our current superintendent. I love the city of Newport News. I love these students like they're my own, but I do not want to die for them. Thank you.
Next is Cindy Connell. Cindy Connell.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Connell. I'm currently an 8th grade teacher at Gildersleeve Middle School. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and both of my children also attend Newport News Public Schools. The thing that most stuck out to me from the school board's press conference last week was Ms. Searleslaw's admission that the board has lost the trust of the community it serves. Unfortunately, I agree with that statement, both as a teacher and a parent. This trust was further broken this morning by the expansive email that Dr. Parker sent to every employee in NNPS. It starts off by listing all of the times staff have been asked for input regarding school safety. It then lists 8 changes that have been made based upon that input. Section 3 then lists resources that NNPS has added in reference to safety, followed by an analysis of discipline data. The data analysis includes information such as, quote, a comparison of the 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 school years indicated that the number of discipline incidents and student infractions across the school division declined by 40%. The final section lists 4 additional actions being considered by the board, including the 90 metal detectors mentioned by Ms. Searleslaw in the press conference last week. The subtext of this email, to me at least, was, we asked you what needed to be done, and we did those things, and look, it's working. Discipline incidents are down by 40%. Ask any teacher in this school division why discipline incidents declined, and I have a feeling the response will be the same. Infraction numbers are down because incidents are not always officially reported. Not 5 minutes ago, a teacher told me that in her building in NNPS, they are no longer allowed to even input discipline infractions into Synergy. The message we are being given is that suspensions count against us for accreditation, and our big push is keeping students in classrooms so they can learn. In these extreme instances, they aren't learning and neither are their classmates. And yes, you have asked for teacher input numerous times. However, many teachers don't feel comfortable sharing their honest feelings about these issues for fear of retaliation. This is not the climate we want in our school system. Meaningful change will never happen if this continues. Thank you for your time.
So, board, we've met the 30-minute mark again. Do I have a motion for extending an additional 30 minutes?
Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion to extend the public comment additional 30 minutes.
Any questions? Please call the roll.
4.
Four.
4. 4.
4.
4.
0.
Okay. Just for your awareness, we're on 31, and we have 47 now. So just for your awareness. Amber Thomas, Nicole Cook, and Dr. James Graves.
Good evening. My name is Amber Thomas. I was a school psychologist in Newport News for 10 years, and I am the parent of 2 elementary school children that attend Newport News schools. I'm addressing the board tonight because I feel the safety measures being put in place following the shooting are insufficient. We know that there are procedures in place to address student misconduct. However, we take issue with the execution of those procedures, as well as with a culture that minimizes or dismisses the concerns of school staff. Not just about student misconduct, but also about administrator misconduct or negligence. The superintendent's safety update references a planning survey that less than 25% of school staff completed. In that survey, 40% of respondents indicated that school administrators do not address negative school behaviors, and 31% did not believe that school administrators work to maintain a safe learning environment. That's concerning. It's unfortunate that the city and NNPS are spending large sums of taxpayer dollars on metal detectors for all schools in response to a situation that was completely preventable. If the red flags had been taken seriously and proper procedures clearly communicated and followed. I have worked with some amazing administrators in Newport News, but I've also worked with some leaders who have bred a toxic environment for staff and students. Administrators who fail to support their staff, create a positive school climate, and follow proper procedures when incidents of student misconduct occur are passed along from one school to the next, and the problems migrate. The board and the public should also be aware that we can be doing more to assist in the prevention of these types of tragedies. Each school needs a threat assessment team that meets regularly and includes school-based mental health professionals, an administrator, and a school resource officer that work collaboratively to properly determine the severity of a threat and the steps that need to be taken to prevent violence. NNPS needs clearly written procedures on recognizing and identifying student threats of violence and self-harm, and annual staff training that is consistent among departments. Ultimately, the district should work toward hiring and retaining more school-based mental health professionals. When employed, I served close to 3,000 students. In the interim, the district should contract with local community agencies or telehealth professionals who are able to provide in-depth threat assessments and follow-up services in a timely fashion. I urge the school board and the district to put just as swift and serious an emphasis on fixing issues with threat assessment and with climate and culture as they did with securing metal detectors. In addition to streamlining threat assessment, the district should coordinate an independent audit of the systemic failures that contributed to the 3 shootings. In addition, the process by which staff make formal complaints of administrator and supervisor misconduct should be revised, clearly communicated to all staff, and consistently followed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I go ahead?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I sure do appreciate these 3 minutes to address this board and you, Dr. Parker. This will be 3 minutes where you will not be able to interrupt me and tell me why I'm wrong, which is what you did when I served on your teacher advisory committee as the co-chair. In fact, about a year ago, Dr. Parker, I brought to you a concern of many of our teachers that we did not feel respected by you. You told me I was using the wrong word. Turns out, Dr. Parker, I wasn't. If Abigail had been respected, she wouldn't be in a hospital right now. If the heritage teachers had been respected, 2 students would not have been injured last year. Respecting your building level staff and bus drivers would cost nothing. It would cost you absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, we have a culture where this is not happening. If we were respected by Dr. Parker, I guarantee the students would also respect us. We are professionals. We should be treated as such. More than anyone else, we can identify the students who are just a little bit needing help and those who are real dangers. Yet again and again, we are not listened to. This does show a lack of respect. We feel as if we do not matter. Rules are changed on us in the middle of the year. Last year with the 50s, which again, Dr. Parker, you told me did not come from your office, but every school in the district was doing it. This year, we changed the rules on the attendance policy. Middle of a semester shows no respect for anyone in this division. Not respecting your teachers, bus drivers, cafeteria staff, and custodians is one thing, but you're not respecting our students. They deserve better. I've listened to you refer to 2 school shootings. There were 3. I was at the one at Minchville, and never again do I want to hear the wails of a father as he comes up and sees his dead son in a parking lot. I respect justice enough to remember him daily. Every day, in every one of our schools, teachers, students, and other staff members are being hurt. Every day, they are hit, they're bitten, they're beaten, and they're allowed to stay so that our numbers look good. And this reflects directly on Dr. Parker. I'm starting to think that the only person you respect is you. During our meetings last year, you will recall that you like to remind us that everyone in Newport News Public Schools works at your discretion, and you can move them whenever you like. This was about school safety officers, if you recall, and we were complaining because they were being moved around. You said that about 4 times. I took meticulous notes. Well, Dr. Parker, you work at the discretion of this board, and this board works at the discretion of the voters. Please respect your faculty and staff.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. James Graves, and I am the president of Newport News Education Association. As president, I meet with our union members regularly about their concerns and safety in our area of concern for many of our members, especially the wake of the school shooting at Rich Neck Elementary. Multiple school shootings in 18 months cannot become the new normal in Newport News. We must work together to stop violence and to make sure that every classroom in Newport News Public Schools is a safe place for students to learn and a safe place for employees to work. Metal detectors in every building is a nice start, but the most effective solution is for staff and teachers to be listened to and supported when they report dangerous behaviors and threats from students at their buildings. Staff and teachers must be empowered to give open and honest feedback about safety issues. Expanding the option for anonymous reporting will help with this. There should also be improved protocols in place to systematically respond to reports by employees and by students about violent and threatening behavior. Based on the meetings I've had with NNEA members, I would like to share some following suggestions to help ensure safe classrooms. Students who demonstrate uncontrolled aggression or who make threats towards students, teachers, or staff should immediately be removed from the classroom and suspended. severe violence and or bringing weapons into the school should warrant a special placement for at least the remainder of the school year, if not longer, and should include wraparound mental health services for the student and their family. In order to minimize learning loss, instead of having students stay at home to complete their suspensions, when possible and appropriate, they complete their suspension through in-school suspension at their home school, or for less severe infractions, or through alternative school for more severe infractions. Schools could set up in-school suspension classrooms as needed in the wing of the building. We still have kids in the school that are not at home. We can do this. With additional staff and security in that area to provide a smaller student-to-staff ratio for those students. Before a child in a school or alternative school inspection is completed, the district could bring in the family for a meeting in order to set up additional counseling, mentoring, and mediation to help the child and family transition successfully back to a regular education classroom. Please note that students also must be suspended for violence and threats in spaces outside of the classroom, such as school buses, in the bathrooms, in cafeterias, etc. Children who come to school to learn should not have to fear violence and threats on school bus. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. Cameron Bertrand, Megan from Newport News, and Barbara Tucci. So the first one is Cameron Bertrand. Okay. Is Megan from Newport News in here? We'll take Megan now.
Call the next one. Call the next one, because we'll be waiting.
Say that again. Yeah, I think so. And then Barbara Tucci. Is Barbara Tucci in here, also in overflow? Okay, thank you.
Call the next one.
Okay, I'll do her now. Okay. While we're waiting, is Whitney Johnson. There she is. Whitney, let's hear from you, please. Thank you for being here.
Greetings, Dr. Parker and Newport News School Board members. I commend you on the steps that you are now taking in order to increase the safety of our students and teachers since the horrific incident at Rich Neck. Safety should always be your number one priority in a school's district, as parents should not have to worry about what may happen to their child as they enter a school building. However, these steps should have been taken months ago when the shooting at Heritage happened. The fact that a student was able to get a gun into the school and shoot at other students should have been a wake-up call. All the steps that you have planned can be worked around if a child is determined to do so. Unfortunately, these steps are just simply a band-aid, as the cause of this problem is truly much larger and deeper. A climate has been established in this district that does not promote school safety. Teachers are often blamed for students' behavior. Many parents threaten and follow through with calling downtown, knowing that the administration building will back up the parents and not the teachers. Teachers have not felt safe in their classroom for years. I worked in Newport News as a teacher for 18 years before leaving in 2020. I loved working here for most of those years. But then the climate changed. My final year in Newport News, I had students much larger than myself yell and scream at me, getting up in my face at least once a week. I asked for help and was given none, at both the school level and at the district level. I cried daily, knowing I was no longer supported in a job that I once loved, praying that today was not the day that I would be hurt on the job. And the only support I got was from a few fellow teachers around me. There was no support from anyone above me. And the sad part is this: my story is not the only one like this. Too many teachers that continue to teach in this district still feel this way. Why are the behaviors of the students not being addressed? Why are the teachers blamed for a child choosing to misbehave? The answer is because the district administration has allowed this to happen. The climate is created from the top down. And that unfortunately includes you. You set the standard and charge others to follow. The climate that has been created by the administration is the reason our schools no longer feel safe. It is the reason teachers are unhappy and leaving. You cannot wait for an incident to occur before actions are taken. And that is exactly what you have done. Therefore, I am begging you to take a long, honest look at the climate that has been created in this district. Until you change that climate, another incident is just waiting to happen. The students know nothing will happen to them if they get sent to the office. Change has to come from the top down.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cameron Bertrand. I'm the CEO of Violence Intervention and Prevention, VIP LLC. I'm also the founder of Buy Back the Block and the newly founded Gun Violence Intervention and Prevention Outreach and Research Center. This scene right here has been far too familiar, far too many times. I want to first and foremost say to the teacher that has been impacted by gun violence and is recovering, we failed you. We failed you. To the teacher that is still recovering, I know what that pain feels like as I still recover from my gunshot injury, and I just need everybody in the community to know that the energy y'all have today, we got to have it tomorrow, and today after that, and next week, and next year, and after that. It has to keep going. To the student, at the young age of 6 years old, that had no coping skills, no mental health support, no access to resources, impacted by generational trauma, and the things that we are seeing as barriers that prevent and actually create environments for gun violence, we failed that young student. I think that a lot has been spoken on today. I think that a lot has been expressed today, but have been very few solutions that have actually been presented, tangible ones. What we have to remember is that being trauma-informed is knowing that even emails or addressing anybody that has put their lives in the line every time they step into those rooms, we have to come from a sense of understanding that people are in survival mode right now. To make the proper decisions and to make the proper decisions moving forward, we need to make sure that we are listening more than we're speaking. Qualitative responses have been expressed over and over and over and over again. I'm not going to sit here and repeat it all. If we focus on what people have asked for and prioritize that through trauma-informed, evidence-based, outcome-driven solutions. There was a child that was reached out to me last week that was in that classroom because he's having nightmares every day. How are you going to tell me that a metal detector is going to make his nightmares go away? It's not. It's not. We have to prioritize again what it is that's being done. Newport News dumped money into community-based grassroots work that's being done, and we still don't have enough. We still need help. And everybody that came to this podium today, don't leave here today without being a part of the solution. There has to be a call to action. Don't leave here without finding a way to do something every single day. Don't wait on them. I ran for school board. I don't think I could have changed this from that seat. I couldn't have. And I still show up every single day. I volunteer over 30 hours a week in my community, and I'm hurting, y'all. But I will not stop because our kids are hurting more. They don't deserve this. And anybody that's in the way of change, get out of your own way so that we can focus on these kids. There has to be a change, and it has to impact from the generations to come. If you are in a mental health capacity, if you are in a community-based capacity, if you have 1 hour a day to give, please do it. Show up to the bus stops, show up to the schools, volunteer, donate, be present, and support the elected officials that have given their lives to change what's happening right here. We got new leadership in the city. Newport News, we're going to set the tone for what's happening in the nation, period.
Thanks to Cameron Bertrand. Megan? Megan, for the record, if you could state your last name.
It's Adams.
Adams, okay, thank you.
So I want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I know that the lack of respect for education and the lack of respect for teachers is an American problem. It's not a Newport News problem. It's like full-blown everywhere. I'll also say that I'm heartbroken that our city is now world famous after what happened on January 6th. I have many things I could say, but I really just want to tell you guys the last 2.5 weeks as a parent at Minchville High School. On Tuesday before the shooting, I received a text from a friend of mine in Smithfield at 7 o'clock in the morning about a gun threat at Minchville. I finally got to my phone at 7:15, texted my daughter who was en route to school, and she didn't know what was going on. She then later told me, like, I think it's bogus, whatever. We later then in the day received an email and a robocall from the principal, which was great because last year at the last shooting, we didn't receive anything for a while. So it was nice to get something in 24 hours. But of course, everyone was heightened. My daughter's stressed out. Her friends are stressed out. My friends are stressing me out. Every text thread is stressed out. So the lack of communication coming from the schools is frightening because when you all do not communicate to everyone, everyone is communicating outside of your thread. So that's 1 million parent threads. That's 1 million Facebook pages. That's 1 million kids. That's all the things. The shooting happened on the 6th. Horrible, frightening. I'm grateful that we have removed our youngest child from Newport News Public School System. She's now starting 6th grade in private school. I've got 6 months to go with the senior at Minchville. Sunday night, I get a robocall from Dr. Parker, stating that we're safe. Your school has a safety plan, all the things. Cool, awesome. So many robocalls that we get all the time. I arrive at Minchville on Monday to get my daughter's transcript so that I can resend it to James Madison University because the previous transcript wasn't sealed properly by Minchville High School. So her early admission application was rejected. So, cool. I go in to get it. I've called ahead to get it. I go to the door, been to the store 1 million times. This is the door near the trailers where the main office is. I push the buzzer. There's a sign that I've never seen before on the front of the door that says, please go to the office to sign in. Never seen that before. I had just been there in 2022, so this is new. I push the button. I look in. There's no adult anywhere. There's a child on a bench. He's on a Chromebook. He gets up, walks to the door looking at his Chromebook, opens the door for me, doesn't ask me who I am. I walk in, there's no one there. There's no adult in the hallway. I just go to guidance because, like, nobody's looking. Then there's a child at that desk to greet me. I say, I'm here for my daughter's transcripts. A woman stands up, doesn't look me in the eye, hands him an envelope, doesn't say hello. He hands me the envelope. I don't sign out for my daughter's sensitive information because her Social Security is on there. I walk out the door. I go sit in the bench in front of the office. I sit there for 10 minutes. People come and go. Nobody cares. I have no visitor badge. I'm a random person. I leave. I get up to leave. I look at the boy and I said, do they pay you to be the security guard? And he said, wouldn't that be cool? And as I walk out, about 50 kids walk in. Nobody's there looking at them. So we're out in 6 months. I wish y'all the best.
Barbara Tucci. After Barbara, we have Lily Cochranan, I believe it might be, and Vonda Pendleton. Are you Barbara?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Tucci, and I'm a speech pathologist in my 40th year of employment in Newport News Public Schools. And you don't see that very often.
Thank you.
I'm glad that my adult sons are no longer in school, but sad when they feel the need to call daily to make sure I'm safely home from school. I'm also tired of the extreme behaviors of some students that impact the learning of others, as well as the safety of their classroom and the school. Students have the right to an education, and teachers want to provide it, and teachers need to be safe. Teachers and staff members are at the breaking point, and they need to know that someone is listening and helping when a student's behavior is out of control. I feel that the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook needs to be revisited, or at the very least, implemented and followed. The maximum number of days that an elementary student receives for an infraction is 3 days. Is that always enough? Rules and consequences were put in place for a reason. Principals and APs have not only to worry about discipline, but attendance data for their school. Which do you want? Discipline being dealt with accordingly, or good attendance? You can't have it both ways. Also, where are the central office supervisors for the schools? Are they offering enough in-school help to these overworked principals and APs who also have meetings, observations, testing, and parents to deal with? Have the central office administrators and school board members been visiting schools since the Rich Neck incident to talk to employees to see how we're doing? Or are you relying on emails for communication? I don't have to tell you that we can't find employees for the schools. What message is NNPS sending to prospective employees when once again our district has made national and international news? Something has to be done, and it has to start from the top down. Please provide the schools and school staff enough resources so we can do the job I know we want to do. Put a priority on students with extreme behaviors. And again, I'm in my 40th year. I want to be able to collect my retirement. I don't want to go out on workman's comp or disability because someone isn't being safe in the schools. Thank you.
Lily Kirkranen. Lily Kirkranen. Hi, Lily.
Hello, my name is Lily Kirkorian. I'm a junior at Warwick High School, and I don't even know where to start. How am I supposed to convince a board of adults to make change when they won't listen to other educated adults that are standing here talking? My experience at Warwick High School and as an NNPS student in the past few years has been quite interesting. In my time at Warwick, I have been hit on the backswing of a punch during a fight, witnessed my peers smoking weed in the bathroom, had an assistant principal accused of indecency with a minor, and arrested at school, and been scared to go to school at times when we received bomb threats. There have been 3 shootings in the past 18 months. That is not okay. Is Warwick going to be next? I don't want to hear about changes that are going to be made. I want to see them implemented in my school. The superintendent spoke of secondary schools using metal detectors as a primary source of security. This is not true. I have never walked through a metal detector except for at homecoming and during the one time my class was searched randomly. It's not that we don't have access to these resources. There are metal detectors collecting dust in the gym. At what point is change going to be made? How are students going to be educated and when they can't go to school in a safe learning environment? Thank you.
Vonda Pendleton. Hello, thank you.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm very informal. I've never done any of this before, but my grandson goes to Rich Neck, and my son is out on the water now, so it's up to me and his other to-be half to take care of my grandson. My first concern is the disconnect between the school, myself, and a lot of parents out here that wasn't even notified about the shooting. The daycare just happened to call, and say that they couldn't pick him up because there was a shooting. I still have yet to get any notification of anything, but I was okay to pick him up with my ID. So I know that you have some sort of information to contact me. I know you do. As far as security that is usually at the schools, I do believe I read an article where that particular person was not on site. And I know that there's probably short staffing everywhere, but have you thought about partnering with like the Employment Commission or whatever? You have all these other fields that get funding for placement in different positions like healthcare and all other kind of stuff. Have you thought about partnering with them to add more security? You have money for the clear book bags and for the metal detectors, but do you have the money to pay somebody to maintain the metal detectors? Do you have somebody to actually stand there when it goes off and ask them to go to the side or whatever? Has that been taken into consideration? Also, you have these kids home, and they're not being educated. What are we supposed to do I'm not home, I'm usually at work, but while the students are at home and you guys are trying to figure out a plan that I'm thinking you already had in place, but evidently you just got paperwork, words on a piece of paper in place as opposed to an actual system or response. Have you thought about the education of the kids? I'm just at a loss right now, and resources for the parents who, I'm gonna just say, my child care, I may have picked the wrong one, but they're going off of whenever y'all make an announcement to say when the school gonna be open or closed is when they gonna have a staff member to watch the school age kids. And once again, I have to find that out on the news or word of mouth or whatever. So as far as schoolwork, has that been thought about, like sending packets home or online something, or during this time that y'all are thinking and putting stuff together? I don't know. I feel like I'm still going to leave here not knowing when my grandson going to go back to school. Everybody's kids going back to school. And my minute's up. I don't know. It just seems like y'all got a whole lot of confusion going on, and it just needs to be straightened out. And it doesn't seem that hard to me. It just doesn't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next card I have is for Carden Bridges. That will bring us to our next 30-minute mark. Carden Bridges. The next one going into our next 30-minute mark is David Wilson. So if he's in the room. Mr. Wilson, thank you.
Hello, school board members. I just want to let you know that I support you guys. Tonight we're hearing a lot of things. We're hearing a lot of angry parents, teachers. Everybody's looking at you guys as to blame. And sitting here looking at y'all, and it must be hard to take that blame when you know that there's nothing you could have done from your seat to prevent any of that. The problem starts at home. The problem starts with parents. And nobody wants to tell parents that they need to do better. The thing about it is, Newport News City Schools educate over 30,000 students a year. We had 3 incidents involving school shootings. That's 3 students who brought a gun to school and decided to shoot somebody. But guess what it also is? It's another 28,000 that didn't because their parents taught them better. And we need to get back to telling these parents the truth. We need to get back to doing what we really need to do. Tell the truth. Stop caring about votes. The truth. Get back to that. The problem is we can do what everybody wants to do. We can start suspending more kids, sending them home. They showing disciplinary problems, let's send them back home. Okay, so that shooter, that person so you just prevented a school shooting, but you just caused a 7-Eleven shooting. You didn't solve the issue. You shift the issue from one thing to another. Let's put the students in more disciplinary action. Let's send parents to jail. Okay, and then what? These kids still grow up to be criminals and they still create crimes. The problem starts in the house. We need to have a wraparound approach to these problems that we're seeing in our schools. When these kids are getting suspended and sent home for 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, let's get our Newport News City School Board and schools to partner with grassroots organizations for that 3 and 5 days. They can be at home with a counselor, somebody there making sure they're learning something and doing some type of assessment on these kids to see whether their problem will persist. Let's partner with grassroots organizations like we've been trying to get each other to do. Let's bring it together because that's what we need. We need a wraparound approach, a wraparound approach. It's all a big problem. We got a problem in the home. We got a problem with students. We got a problem with teachers. They feel we got a problem with school board. I called Dr. Best the day of the shooting, probably about 5 minutes after I heard it. You know where she was at? Right there. David, I'm in the middle of it, trying to figure out a way to do something about this because I know what y'all going through. Y'all know y'all going to take the blame for this. And y'all know that these problems start at home. I got a 6 and a 7-year-old at home right now. They would never bring a gun to school. You know why? Because daddy will beat their tail. They don't even think like that. But you got kids out here apparently not being taught that. Or they ain't got nobody to beat their tail. Thank you.
Do I have a motion from the board for an additional 30 minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair, I make a motion to extend public comment for an additional 30 minutes.
Second.
Oh, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I know that there might be the need to take a break. Please do not be offended by us, and nor will we be offended by you if you need to take a restroom break. Please call the roll.
Best. 4. Harris.
4.
Brown.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon. 4. Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0. I'm sorry for
Thank
that.
you. I had previously called Carden Bridges. Ms. Bridges?
So it's Carolyn Bridges.
Carolyn. Okay.
Yes, madam. I would like to start off by saying I have been a Newport News teacher for 6 months. So this is my first time ever being in this district, ever being in Virginia. And I wanted to say, a lot of people have already said it, that the teachers are not heard. I wanted to give a specific example. My first time being in an active lockdown was here, had never been in one. I'm at my school, and there was a lockdown called during 7th grade transition. So a lot of our kids were in the hallway. I'm not questioning how admin handled it. I'm questioning how admin handled the after. We got called in to have a staff meeting, and all we keep hearing is how well everything went. And I'm sitting here like, ma'am, I was in that hallway with my kids screaming and yelling and not knowing what happened to half my students. Out of my normally 26 students, 6 made it into my room. So I sat there and I'm listening to these people keep telling me, but it went great, but it went fine. And I'm looking like, for somebody that's never, ever been in one, this was not great. This was not fine. My kids were scared. I was scared. I went home and I cried for 2 hours and I had to call my family. I actually worked overseas in China. I was during COVID. I was displaced and I ended up here and I wasn't as scared as I was in that moment. And my admin didn't listen to us as our kids screamed in the hallway, as we had to lock our doors regardless of who was in the room. Thank you for your time.
Michael Shapiro. Michael Shapiro, Amanda D'Onofrio, Dejeen Mendez. If anyone is counting, we're on 44. We're heading, this will end 44, and we're at 49. Michael Shapiro, Amanda. Do you have Amanda yet? Or Dejeen?
Go to the next one.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next set of 3. Courtney Hand, Tamra Wills. Are you Courtney?
I am.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, faculty, and fellow concerned parents and teachers. First, I would like to thank you for taking the shots tonight. You guys, I'm not here to point fingers or come for your head or anything. I have some concerns about resources and where they are going. My name is Courtney Hamill, and I currently serve as Vice President of Hydenwood Elementary School's Parent-Teacher Association, and while I'm sure my fellow board members share those concerns, I represent myself tonight, and my opinions here are my own. More often these days, we are seeing reports of violence in our schools, a fact I know you're intimately aware of this evening. I come to you now, a parent of 2 elementary-aged boys, pleading you to broaden your scope in applying resources offered to Newport News schools. While in a flurry of PTA meetings, both district-wide and statewide this week, I was made aware that Newport News City provided $1.78 million to fund programs aimed at reducing gun violence within this district. In August of 2022, the city addressed this national health crisis in gun violence by investing in community-based organizations that offer programs to create change in our community. I've heard many parents discuss this tonight, and I'd like you guys to be aware of where that money is going. Boxing to Live received $100,000 to expand an existing program for ages 13 to 18. Quality of Life Counseling Center received $180,000 to expand their Leading Youth project for ages 13 to 24. Center for Child and Family Services received over $100,000 to create a violence intervention program for ages 13 to 18. Let Our Voices Empower received $120,000 to develop a mentoring initiative for ages 13 to 24. Community Builders Network received $60,000 to address multiple risk areas for youth, serving ages 13 to 18. Hampton Roads Urban Agriculture received $10,000 to support the Youth Leadership Program for Newport News residents ages 12 to 24. Sister to Sister received $100,000 to expand their youth teaching technology for girls ages 10 to 17. Thrive Peninsula received $40,000. Target population is families with children 13 to 24. YMCA received $61,000 for expansion of their teen and young adult initiative, ages 13 to 24. Guess what age elementary school starts at? 5. According to the World Health Organization, 2022 reports violence against children occurs well before they reach high school or middle school. Global estimates show that 1 billion children starting at age 2 have experienced physical, sexual, emotional violence or neglect. Experiencing violence in early childhood impacts their brain and can negatively affect cognitive development. This results in educational underachievement, negative coping skills, health risk behaviors, as well as a wide range of non-communicable diseases. I've been to a few school board meetings now, and I've read through all of your 2025 strategic plan, and somehow elementary schools are the last on every list, yet we're on front page this week. While I fully intend on bringing this same speech to legislators as well, you are the voice for our children. And I very much appreciate the seat that you sit in, and unfortunately, we have seen the effects more recently in elementary school ages. Please be their voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
I had to take my time to come up here, but I had listening to parents and the people who are speaking, I was forced to come up here. I'm a nonprofit organization called Bridging the Gap Youth Program. You all need to start bridging the gap. There are gaps in so many different things, and you all are hearing everyone speak about it. You have grassroots nonprofit organizations that have been here to do the work. But what I can say is, it seems like we're blocked out a lot of times, you all. Like, we're not invited in. Parents, to me, are not being encouraged to get back into the schools. I have a 4th grade program called BTG Classroom Connection. It's based in Paramount, California. You know why? Because they're more open for things. Their SOL, they don't have it anymore. Their parents got together and got rid of it. Because if you're going to just base things on SOLs, this still goes along with systems. Our children are way more important than systems. School system. Sit down and get to the core and the heart of how you can really help our young people. I've sat down and been in front of many and expressed about music and all the different things that are impacting our youth. You have people who are willing to be a part of your after-school programs. You have people who are willing to come in and do tutoring. But you all have to be more open and willing and inviting to the people who want to help you to make change. Again, you all need to start bridging the gap. And that's all I want to share. You all have a beautiful, blessed day.
Your name again?
My name is Tamara Wills.
Tamara Wills.
The name of our organization is Bridging the Gap Youth Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Michael Shapiro? Are you Michael? I am. All right. Thank you.
I'm Michael Shapiro. I'm a resident of Newport News. I put 5 children through the Newport News school system, all in the public school system. That was because I wanted my children to get a public school education, not an elitist private school education. We've had multiple incidents on Newport News School in the past 18 months, and you know that, and you've heard it from all of us, and of course, y'all are very aware of it. Leadership starts at the top in any organization. And tonight, y'all have shown leadership by extending this time for the people to talk so that the people who are watching and listening can hear us speak and not shoving us to the end when everybody's already tuned out and is going to bed and putting their kids to bed. That's great. But it's become apparent that not only isn't this group listening, but the administration is not listening. They're not listening to the teachers and supporting them, and they're not listening to the parents' concerns and supporting them. And the parents and the teachers have valid concerns. None of these people who have spoken are up here doing it because they're trying to railroad y'all. They're here speaking because they're scared. They're hurting. They're getting beat. They're getting kicked. They're getting threatened. And they're getting ignored. The superintendent, in spite of multiple, increasingly violent incidents within our schools, which include fights, students and attacking and threatening teachers, not just this recent incident, chose to go down the path of making sure that the schools were trained on how to react when there's an incident. What about how to react to prevent an incident? Several people have mentioned that there are metal detectors already in our closets collecting rust and dust. Those could have come out after the first or second incident, and they're not out yet. Yeah, they're not the most modern. Yeah, they're not 100% right. Yeah, we might need somebody to stand by them and watch them, but we have some. Let's use them. Prevention at the home level is not something we can do. We can't get parents to do what they won't do. We don't hold you all accountable for that. But at some undetermined time in the future, we're going to have new metal detectors in all of our schools, probably at the main office. Warwick could be a problem. Is that 2 seconds over? Good God. So when teachers send students to the office for discipline and they come back holding up the lollipop they got and showing it off to the students, your message to everyone is very clear. We're not going to punish you. We're going to reward you. The concept of no child left behind was never meant for no child to get ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. I really appreciate you coming. I previously called Amanda
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio.
Yes,
Thank you
Amanda
very much.
D'Onofrio.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I was here last week at the press conference as well, which is a bit of a task for me to make with the time my kids' school lets out. I will start by saying that I have a lot of the same concerns that have already been said, so I'm not going to speak on that. If you would like to hear my suggestions or any of my concerns about the level of violence in our schools and the fact that it is no longer a matter of if this is going to happen on American soil, but when and where, please see John Ely, who I spoke with last year after being passed off one by different members of the city council, the school board, and even the governor. Passed down, emails ignored, phone calls ignored. I physically had to go to a meeting where he was gracious enough to take the time to meet with me in his office and speak about my concerns. And yet here I am before you today, having read the message that you sent us, Dr. Parker, this morning, which I did read in my school inbox because in addition to being a parent of a 4-year-old and 6-year-old in this student system, I'm also a PALS tutor at one of your schools. And that message to me provided me with information that said little to nothing is being done for the students at our elementary schools. I read some of what would happen at our middle schools, and I read some of what will happen at our high schools. I read not a single word of what would happen at a preschool or an elementary school, where our students are the most innocent and where they are the most vulnerable, where I have a 4-year-old and 6-year-old who cannot effectively hide. I love them to bits and pieces, but when you have children who think you can't see them when they're under a blanket, how are they going to be able to survive these situations? I should not be a mother in this situation. When a shooting occurred when I was in high school in 1999, we are still going through these paces. People are saying again and again, 3 shootings, 3 shootings. It's not 3 shootings. I am a military wife. I have lived around this country. I have lived around the world. And when I go and live in another country and people ask me when there is an American shooting, which happens all too frequently, why Americans care more about their guns than their children, I am disgraced, I am disgusted, and I am exhausted from trying to find a reason because there isn't one. And if we cannot protect our children by making better laws with our guns, then we need to defend them. That comes both with metal detectors and security, but it also comes in giving some confidence back to our students. We have come from a generation where I was taught by my Italian uncles and my Irish grandfather and my Irish father how to defend myself, and I did. And when a bully picked on me, I took those lessons to heart and I put him out of my field. And he wasn't a bully anymore. I will say,
thank you.
This needs to be dealt with, because if we have the money to be replacing smart boards that aren't misworking throughout our township, we have the money to do better for our students, and I will thank you when I feel that you can adequately protect my children.
Thank you. Sebastian, oh, I'm sorry. Are you Dejeen, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I had put your card aside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Dejeen Mendez. I was a Heritage High School student. I graduated in class of '03. I have been a substitute teacher in Newport News, and I am currently a proud teacher at Sedgefield Elementary School. Everybody has talked about the students, and everybody's talked about the parents and who we're going to hold responsible. However, I want to give a voice to my teachers, my besties, my colleagues, the people I work with every day. And we are being disrespected. The Monday of the shooting, we closed Rich Neck, and I agree, that was a wonderful thing to do. They needed it. But what about the rest of us? We endured trauma. The target was us. I'm an elementary school teacher. The target was us. And we were expected to go to work as normal. Keep it pushing. This is a normal day. It wasn't normal for us. Some of us scared. Some of us angry. Some of us trying to figure out, I don't think I want this job anymore. We get 8:30 meetings or after school meetings. We talk about our feelings. Then what? We go back to the classroom, to the kids. But on Sunday night, we get an email talking about some breathe. You want us to teach the kids. It was about the kids. It was about the kids. Every day is about the kids. But we were the target. Where are our mental health services? Not those 5 hours. What happened to we are on depression meds and psychotics in order to go to work? We getting hit, kicked, punched, cursed, threatened. We get all kinds of kids and we welcome them, we love them. But you're not listening to us. Example, you're a lead teacher at a curriculum and development meeting? Why is that a webinar? Why is it we can't get in the chat? You don't want to hear from us. I want you to understand. They don't want to hear us. You change the lesson plan in the middle of the year. Take down all the resources. And we have a curriculum and development team? Where is the development? When are you going to talk to us? Because I know it's horrible having people talking to you, blaming you, yelling at you, causing for you to want to be. You need to fire them. That's not fun. It's not safe, but it's what we deal with every day. Parents cussing at me, thinking that they're allowed to talk to me any kind of way. Kids talking to me any kind of way. And I'm just supposed to deal with it. We're tired. Respect us. Thank you.
Next, I have Sebastian Arknich. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not reading well, I guess. And then after Sebastian, Dr. E.R. McGaskill and Rhoda Young.
Over here too.
I do have 3 more.
There's at least 7 more people who need to speak that their cards were turned in to either a security officer or someone else and they were never turned in.
Okay, we'll need to try to, if we can, try to locate those. Any cards that are potentially in the building by security guards or admin, if we could get those brought to the front, we'd appreciate that. Okay, Sebastian.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Arsenal, and I'm a sophomore at Menchville High School. I'm here today addressing my safety in my own school, and I hope that this will not fall on deaf ears, so please listen while I, a student, am speaking to you, the school board. With the number of school shootings since I've attended Menchville, I don't feel comfortable in my own school. It has gotten to the point where I'm purchasing a bulletproof insert for my backpack. I've talked to my peers and my friends, and they feel the same. It's horrified us that one day we might go to school and the people we love and call our friends will be dead, or that one of us will be dead by the end of the school day. I cannot express how mad I am in words that nothing has been done. that nothing was being done until you as NNPS started to be pressed and berated by people like me in the media. It has been stated that metal detectors will be used during school hours, and I've never once been screened or had to walk through a metal detector, nor have any of my peers. The metal detectors still stand in the restroom gathering dust, preventing nothing. It's such a simple task to set them up, even if it's tedious, as 5 minutes of setting up that metal detector could save lives. I know that they are now being implemented, but that does not negate the fact that they were not previously used when the rise in gun violence started. It really says something that students are feeling this way, and the fact that any student feels this way in a place that should be safe is absolutely unacceptable. I'm appalled that NNPS has taken the tardy policy more serious than student safety. Get your priorities straight. The cycle of violence will not stop unless you as NNPS and schools worldwide take action against the senseless violence that has been seen all throughout the USA. And to Dr. Parker, keep reevaluating your... I apologize. Keep on reevaluating your procedures and protocols, and there will be more blood on your hands. I might be too young for the people to vote for the people who represent the NNPS school system, but I think I can speak on behalf of the students that we are fed up with your lies and deceit. It's time for you to actually do something. This board has become a joke, but no one's laughing. That's all I have to say. You will also hear from my mother when her card is called.
Okay, Dr. Gaskill, I believe he is approaching.
Good evening. Distinguished Superintendent, distinguished school board, and support. I'm going to paraphrase a very popular quote that those of us who know the perfect one said. I'm going to paraphrase it. What profited a school system that increases graduation and yet graduates menaces to society? Theodore Roosevelt said that to educate a person in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Benjamin Franklin, Dr. George Washington Carver, Dr. King had three things in common: the solution for the problem. And I brought it here tonight. Benjamin Franklin said this. He said, "There's nothing more important for the public wealth than to train and form youth in wisdom and virtue." Dr. Carver had 8 cardinal virtues that he integrated into his science lessons. Dr. King said, "The true goal of education is intelligence plus character." Where have we missed it? Where have we missed the mark? We put emphasis on SOL, and yet we neglected the SOUL. And therefore, we have young hoods and criminals in the first grade. How come? Because the primary educator has miseducated our children. Primary educator is the parent. I'm a parent educator for juvenile and domestic relations courts, and unfortunately it's when couples are going through divorce, separation, and disputes, and believe me, children are caught in the middle. They come to school mad because mom and daddy are at each other's throats. We're trying to teach the SOL where they are suffering from, I heard one young, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, before the first grade. Before the first grade, our children are traumatized. Their cerebral cortex is in atrophy. Therefore, they're not able to concentrate and focus on SOLs. Johnny not only cannot read and write, he cannot tell right from wrong. So we are in a challenging situation. 20 years ago, I presented the Virtues Project to Newport News Public Schools. Unfortunately, there was a misconception that virtues was a religious word. But when you have people like Benjamin Franklin, Dr. David Starr Jordan, Charter founder of Stanford University says that wisdom is knowing what to do next. Skill is knowing how to do it. Virtue is doing it. 3 solutions I want to offer you. Transformative training, 5 strategies to create a climate, parent empowerment, which requires required parent education classes and mental health support, and faith-based adopting schools to bring goodness into the schools and mentor.
What was the second one that you said?
Parent empowerment, parent education, classes. The first sign of trouble, a parent needs to be required to take a parent education class before that child can come back to school. They need to be required. And then faith-based, Norfolk Public Schools has an initiative. They're proactive. They're bringing in faith-based initiatives. Ms. Cheryl's Law, right? Mr. Wright has it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And I can make that announcement now. Just for the community's awareness, the board has made the decision to cancel, not you all, but the remainder of our board meeting today so that we can make room to hear from you. You're welcome. I want to thank you all for being here and taking the time and not just even coming and just saying your piece and storming out, but listening to the narrative, and I appreciate that. The next one is Rhoda Young. Rhoda.
Okay. Good afternoon to each and every last one of you. I am the #1 news reporter in Hampton Roads for the Rucker. It's sad to me that we all have to be here today, but I'm glad that we're able to be here in your presence. But the saddest part of this whole situation is the wrong people are in the house. We all are on the same page. We're angry at each other, but we should not be. It ain't not bad kids. The kids that's messed up in the school system, their parents are not here. And it's sad to me that it is so. You know, everybody else, they got A on the row, C, maybe a D. But the parents with the kids that's getting the E's and shooting at people are not here. They should be required to be here. Why are they not here? I'm going to take it. We got to understand things from a different walk of life. I come from a different walk of life, and I'm proud of it. With me being raised in the projects gave me the experience that I can speak on now. So ain't nobody going to take it personal. When the project got out of control, you know what the project did? They started kicking the mamas out. And when they started telling the mother, and I was doing those times, and they started telling the mama, your child get in a fight, your child shoot somebody, you're out of here. They held the parents responsible for their children's actions. And the reason the kids are bad as heck is because no one is holding the parents responsible for their children's actions. Their kids come to school and act up, the parents need to go to court. We're not going to waste our time or our resources on your bad child because you allowing your child to run your house, but your child will not run our school. And if we got to deal with your child, then you're going to deal with the system. Suspending someone kid, put them in institute suspension is making angry kids. We will have another school shooting. So you can put them out of school, they'll stand on the corner with a gun and shoot at the students as they come home. Address the parents. Address each parent. If I suspend your child more than once, I'm taking you to court. And that need to be in paperwork, it need to be documented, and need to be implemented. I guarantee you, if you buckle down on these parents and start putting charges on them, they'll put their foot on their kids' neck and get their kids to act right. And I'm serious. Tough love. If you can't get your child to act right, then we'll get you to act right. Then make you make your child act right. Simple as that. Ain't too much to it but to do it. I'm Rhoda Young Live.
I'm going to call the next 3 cards again. We have Christina Sellis, Aaron Arsenault, and Julie McGlowan.
All right.
I don't even know where to start anymore. My name's Christina Sellis. I have been a teacher for 22 years, and 8 of those years have been in Newport News as a dual language immersion teacher, first at Saunders and then now at Gildersleeve, where I am extremely happy. I wrote this. This is an email I wrote to my principal when I was in Saunders. I was first grade lead. March 30th. We are concerned about the lack of consequences for the students who misbehave. This was 5 years ago. We are filling out SIS forms and Google forms concerning children who engage in actions where serious physical aggression occurs, hitting, kicking, punching, hitting with an object, scratching, etc., but rarely anything happens. These children are removed from the classroom for a short time and then are returned to continue in these actions the same day. If a child does something especially aggressive, they have been suspended. But when they come back after a day or two, they continue the same antagonistic behavior. 2, we are calling down to the office, but there's not always someone who can attend to these children. 3, we call parents who don't pick up the phone or in denial to the actual situation of their children. 4, we give positive dojo points, conference with the children, give them prizes when they make good choices, but this is not working for the more challenging students. 5, we send them to other classrooms so that they can take time to regroup. Some of these children have been permanently moved to other classrooms so that they can victimize and torment new children and teachers. I've had up to 4 children in my classroom. One time, one of them was chasing another with a scissor trying to cut their t-shirt, and another one was flicking pencils. And I've had to sacrifice my students to attend to those children. One of our solutions was to have them, this is something that, I don't know, it's ridiculous, but one of our solutions was to have them walk a few laps so that they could reflect on what they have done and could move while they did it. We did not want them to just sit in a timeout. We cannot do this anymore. We were told we couldn't do that anymore. It was too punitive. We seem to be running out of options, but no new strategies are being offered. About 3 weeks after I wrote that email, this wasn't the only email. I wrote many, many emails as a first grade lead that year, trying to shield my team. A few weeks later, I was taken out of my leadership position without any notice. She called me into the office and said, "You're no longer lead." I'm like, what? Not even a room for getting better or anything. It's because I spoke too much. I put cracks in the facade. And I think from Cindy, we heard it from all these girls. They grew up with my daughter. I've known them since they were little kids. I've taught your daughters. I've taught your sons. Like the other lady said, we need, who's watching us? Who's protecting us? I was trying to protect my team, but I protected my team, and they said, get out. So there you go. Thank you.
My name is Erin Arsenal. I'm alumna of Newport News Public Schools and a parent of a 2020 graduate and a current sophomore, Sebastian, of both of Menchville High School. I'm here today to remind you who you're supposed to work for and protect, students like my son. You are elected officials of my city. I am a lifelong resident of Newport News, and I have always been proud of my schools. However, since September 2021, you've dropped the ball and been ineffective in the safety of students and teachers, not only in terms of firearms and weapons, but also disciplinary practices and student and family accountability in the schools. You're supposed to represent and protect all students, but what about the ones, like Sebastian and others, who respect their teachers, are active in the school community, and come to school to learn? How are you protecting them when you allow students who have committed major behavioral infractions and disruptions to the school to continue to come into the building with minimal repercussions? Now, we all know that gun violence is an epidemic, but it should not have taken 3 shootings on Newport News Public School property and global attention for you to take it seriously. We know metal detectors are not a fix-all, but after each incident, we have heard Dr. Parker say that we will reevaluate our safety procedures and protocols. 3 times. You all have lied to us. You claim metal detectors are used randomly in the schools. Neither of my children, in all the years that Felix was in school and now Sebastian is there, neither of them nor their friends have ever had to walk through a metal detector or been screened on a school day. Even after threats are made to the schools, like the one made on January 3rd to Menchville, metal detectors were not used, although that there had already been 2 shootings at your high schools. 2. You claim that increased police presence will be in the schools. The same with security officers. Prevention through deterrence only works if they are there and visible. At a press conference last week, Mrs. Searles Law was asked if firearms have been found on property before. She answered no. But my question to you all is this: how would you even know if preventative measures are not being taken? You wouldn't. Mr. Brown sent an email in response to a parent last week stating that the use of metal detectors daily would increase the school day by hours and would require an increase in the operating budget. When I was at Menchville, first, it won't take hours, okay? Think of football games, Busch Gardens, airports. It does not take hours. When I was at Menchville in the early 2000s, when threats came in, and they did often, we know that some kids are irresponsible and act stupid. They came in, but they took our security seriously. They took our safety seriously. We were walked through metal detectors a lot. I'll finish with this. Mr. Brown, do you know what's more costly than increasing the operating budget? You know what's more disruptive to the learning environment? Dead kids. Dead kids, and there was already one on Menchville property. So the buck stops with you all. You were elected to do better. And Dr. Parker, after each of these shootings that occurred on your watch, as I stated previously, that your response was that we will reevaluate. Why did it take negative national attention before you took this seriously and actually reevaluated? I think it's time the citizens and parents of Newport News who did not elect you to reevaluate your services as our superintendent.
Good evening. My name is Julianne McGlawn Mars, and I am a retired Newport News Public School elementary school assistant principal. Retired early because I was being assaulted daily by a 6-year-old and got no support from my superiors. I was born and raised here in Newport News. I graduated from Ferguson High School. I've worked for this district for 31 years. I've seen 7 different superintendents come and go during my tenure. For the most part, they've done a good job, as do most of our current school administrators and staff. But I have never seen our school system in the state that it is in today. I grappled with how to approach my statement tonight because I'm experiencing so many emotions, the most prominent of which is anger. I am angry that one or both building administrators at Rich Neck did not handle this situation according to safety protocol. I am angry that their executive director had 2 inexperienced or incompetent administrators in one building, one of which had many complaints previously filed from another school, but she was just moved. I am angry that somehow we have gotten to a place where it has become acceptable for teachers and elementary APs like me to be abused, both verbally and physically, while requests for help fall on deaf ears. But most of all, I am angry that since Dr. Parker's time in our school system, we have watched student discipline, school safety, and staff morale erode at an alarming rate. When I retired in December of 2019, Dr. Parker had visited my school 0 times, even though he had been our superintendent for 18 months. 18 months, and he never once walked in our building. This was Epps Elementary, or whatever y'all call it these days. How can a superintendent know how to guide a district when he's not even visible and regularly in the buildings? I will close my remarks with some common sense suggestions. 1, There must be changes in leadership starting at the top, now. Teachers are demanding it and crying out for it, and a leadership void would be better than this. 2, in addition to structures already in place, there has got to be a way for teachers' voices to be regularly and, if needed, anonymously heard. 3, the fear of discipline numbers being reported to the state and therefore affecting accreditation has got to become less important than student and teacher safety. We cannot keep letting disruptive kids have their way because we're afraid of the numbers. 4, with proper training, the panic buttons that we used to have should be reinstalled. If evacuating, the panic button is right there at the door versus trying to get to a phone on a desk. 5, there must be a full-time SRO in every school, even elementary. 6, consistently disruptive students must be made to go virtual. Those structures are in place. It would cost us nothing. Their parents can figure it out. 7, school counselors at the elementary level should be freed up from many of the administrative duties that have been placed upon them. They need to be back in the classrooms and running small groups to help nurture social emotional learning. And last but not least, I believe strongly that we need to bring in someone from the outside who is impartial to examine this mess, such as Bobby Kipper, who has reached out to some school board members already. He is a nationally renowned expert on school safety and violence prevention. He is a Newport News native. He has offered his services. An examination and resulting suggestions from the outside in could be just what we need to get the school district back on track and keep our students and teachers safe. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 3 cards that I have are Andrea Hogg, Jafari Jones, and Casey Seipolt, I believe that is, S-Y-P-O, I think it's an L-T.
Hi, my name is Andrea Hogg. I'm a 47-year resident of Newport News. I went to Nelson, Dozier, and I graduated from Denby. First off, I wanted to say that my thoughts and prayers are with all of us as we're in uncharted waters right now. None of us know what to do. We're all in the same boat together. As a parent of a 2012 graduate of Woodside and an 8th grade student, I can honestly say the school system has changed drastically, and it's very, very disappointing. Metal detectors are a great idea, but do we have the manpower for someone to watch these metal detectors? We already have a teacher shortage and a bus driver shortage, so who's going to watch the metal detectors? Are cameras permitted in classrooms, offices, hallways? Because it's always he said, she said. For instance, my daughter is bullied at school every single day. I have done 2 years of bullying. Nothing has been done. My daughter finally took actions of her own and assaulted her. My daughter received suspension. My daughter told me about her suspension. She was allowed to stay at school all day long. I received a phone call from the principal at 8 p.m. that night to tell me my daughter had been suspended. What happened to the bully? Absolutely nothing. And you know what? To this day, right now, she's still being bullied. On Friday, January 13th, her bus was pulled over because they had received threats on the bus. So changing the schools is great, but we also need to consider our bus drivers as well. As far as parents, as a parent, we need to teach our children respect. That's where it starts. Teachers are there to help them, not hurt them. Teachers need to feel safe going to work. They need to know that they have the support of the parents, their faculty staff, their administration, everyone. I have an instance as a nurse at a Newport News public school had a disruptive child in the clinic. She called the office 3 times before someone answered. She asked for security. Security returned the phone call 5 minutes later and said, "What is it that you need?" What could have happened in that amount of time for them to respond. It shouldn't have been a what do you need. They should have gone. These schools should go and check on these teachers throughout the day. Pop your head in the class and say, are you okay? Are your students okay? Is there anything that we can do? Students need reassurance that they're safe in our schools. Harsher consequences for their actions. ISS is a joke. They play video games and they're on their phones. And last but not least, there needs to be teacher resources. And while I was sitting here talking to you, my daughter texted me and said, please let them know a child should never have to go to school and fear that they will never make it home that night. Thank you for listening.
Jafari Jones.
Check, check. Peace and blessings, everybody. My name is Jafari Jones. I am president of BLM 757. I began my activist journey 7 years ago, and it's you, Mr. Brown. You know why. First, I'd like to thank the brave teachers and staff and offer my thoughts and prayers to the students in the class, and prayers to even the 6-year-old with the undeveloped mind who sought to do this. There's no reason one of the parents had to be afraid to speak out about this. Her daughter was in the class. She's sitting behind me tonight. She's showing her face now. I would like to talk to Mr. Brown, Mr. Harris, Dr. Best, Ms. Sewell's Law, Dr. Parker, Mr. Hunter, I don't know where he went, Ms. Almond and Ms. Spratley. Dr. Parker, please get a PR person. Your lesson in gun violence upset the hearts of many. We are asking for your resignation. And again, I began my activist journey. I've been an activist now for 7 years because my 14-year-old cousin committed suicide due to bullying. And that was the first national incident here in Newport News. Mr. Brown, you were there. You completely disrespected my family the day of the visual, and we asked you then, and we chilled, but we're now asking for your resignation again. It's been 7 years come April 16th of this year, and clearly nothing has been done. That's personal. Do you need additional assistance, such as something like a paralegal? Parents need swift responses, so if y'all need more resources, y'all need to reach out. 3 school shootings within 18 months. Uvalde has reached out to us because we have failed on the national scale, as did they. Thank God we had no fatalities, no deja vu. My 14-year-old cousin was bullied relentlessly at these schools to the point that she couldn't take it no more. April 16th, she couldn't even take a few more weeks. So it scared me when his parents said there's only 6 more months. My cousin didn't feel like she could make it from April to June. Bullying is now a law because of my cousin. Are parents and students aware that the governor in 2017 passed a law that all parents, and y'all can hear this, must be notified of all instances of bullying? This is a law. And if it's not known, it needs to be known. It starts at home and putting the unity back in the community. These teachers need resources. I found out because I have many teacher friends that they have to come out their own pocket for different lesson plans and things of that nature. Parent resources to be able to help. Please reach out to advocacy groups, law enforcement, parent coalitions, similar to the Police Citizens Academy headed up by Chief Drew. He came out to our visual on Sunday. We didn't see any of you. We are here to help, or do we need to take the streets in mass protest for the most important part of our community, our babies? No deja vu. No deja vu means we don't want deja vu of what happened to my cousin committing suicide. We don't want deja vu of the 3 shootings that's already happened. You've been here 7 years. You need to go. And by the voice of everybody else, Mr. Parker, you need to step as well.
Are you Casey?
I am.
Thank you, Casey.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Casey Seipolt. I am a Rich Neck parent, as well as a special education teacher in another district. Thank you. I want everyone to hear what I have to say. I hope that none of you ever have to receive a text message from your elementary school child that is terrified. I did not hear from the school until I was already there waiting for my students. I drove from across the water 45 minutes I commute so that I do not have to work in this district. As a parent, I am concerned. As an educator, I am equally as concerned about the means in which this incident was handled. Teachers, bus drivers, and other school staff have already brought up the issue of behavior for years. This is not a new problem. While I understand that students and parents should be held accountable for their actions, we cannot forget that our schools need the support of their administration. In this situation, the school administrator was notified of a potential weapon and did not follow the safety protocol, which put all of our kids in danger. Teachers, bus drivers, and school staff need a way to bring up incidents and behavior concerns without the fear of retaliation. These school staff members work directly with our kids every day, and their concerns should be taken seriously. The Rich Neck incident highlights failures in several different areas. This didn't happen because Ms. Warner wasn't doing everything that she could to provide support to her students. This happened because a weapon was reported, behavior concerns were also reported, and the administration did not take them seriously. I would also like to say I have already reached out to you, Superintendent, in the past about incidents and concerns about your special education department. I had to fight to get services for my student. I was also able to contact the news. I was able to put myself on the news, and I still have not received a response from you from last week. I also think it's important, as a Rich Neck parent, I have received no updates. I do not know when my son is going back. I do not know what safety measures will be in place. He is terrified. I'm taking off of work, my husband's taking off of work, and I am one of the lucky families here to have family nearby to help take care of my kid, because everyone failed this teacher. You guys failed her on a multitude of levels. And it's not just on you guys, it is on the parents as well. I hope that you guys have a good night, and I hope that you take everything people have said tonight into consideration. Thank you.
We are again at the 30-minute mark. Do I have a motion to continue for another 30 minutes?
Madam Chair, make a motion to extend comment period for additional 30 minutes.
Second.
Any questions? Please call the roll.
Best. 4. Harris.
4.
Brown.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Anderson. 4. Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. At this time, I do want to thank you all for your decorum during this very tense and frustrating time for all of us. And I do really appreciate your decorum as we listen and we're making notes, and I know that you are making notes. This conversation is not over. Thank you. The next 3 people that I will call: Susan Montgomery, Christopher Bowden, Mark Garcia. Thank you. Susan Montgomery.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I'm a teacher. I've been in your school system 17 years, and I needed this. We all needed this. We needed it on January the 9th. We needed it on after the Heritage incident. We needed it after the Minchville incident. We needed it after COVID, during COVID, and before COVID. The emails that I'm receiving, they're not helping me. The email telling me that staff and student safety remains a priority are only words to me. And I need actions. Dr. Parker, excuse me. You said that the tragedy at Rich Neck was unprecedented. and it was because of the age of that young man. But what was not unprecedented was the behavior. We experience that, me, all the rest of these teachers, on a daily basis, that type of behavior. Unruly behavior is the problem. And giving a behavior contract, that's not going to change anything. These students need to be removed from the class. Well, no wonder I can't see what I wrote. I don't have my glasses on. Sorry. They need to be taught virtually, either through the academy or at their home school, where we set up rooms called a virtual learning lab. And we have supervisors in those rooms that allow them to join into their own classroom. When COVID hit, Amy Jones was our supervisor in health and physical education. She bought us cameras. And that camera we use to teach our students. And it was successful. My daughter goes to Peninsula Catholic. I'll tell you about that in a minute. They use the same cameras. That's where I got the idea from, and took it to her. And she said, yes, I will buy these for you because it will help our students learn. Those students, teachers, we're not trained to deal with that kind of behavior. We're trained to teach. So these students need to meet with counselors and psychologists before they are allowed to come back into that classroom. I got to say this because this is important. In our district, you all have a great example. Achievable Dream Elementary School, middle school, and high school. That school is a fantastic learning environment. One of the great things they do is teach respect for self, respect for adult leaders, and respect for core human values. This needs to be taught elementary through high school in our system. And lastly, for change to happen, you must give teachers a seat at the table. Anytime there are decisions that impact learning and classroom environment, we should be there. I've taught 38 years. I've been teaching 38 years. I know I don't look like it, but I love what I do. And part of the reason I haven't retired is so I can pay for my daughter to go to private school, because I don't want her in the public school. Thank you so much.
I have called Christopher Bowden and Mark Garcia. Do we have them? Yes, please. Mark Garcia, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before I start, I just want to give prayers up to the teachers, Rich Neck, as well as the students, as well as the student and the teacher that's going through this. My name is Mark Anthony Garcia Sr. I'm a veteran. I'm a volunteer at Rich Neck Elementary. I'm a father of a son who's in the 2nd grade at Rich Neck Elementary. My son's name is Mark Anthony Garcia Jr. His teacher is Miss MacArthur at Rich Neck Elementary. Dear change makers, parents, teachers, staff and faculty, students, to the leaders in the city, to all the people wanting the next change, I want you to know that we are part of the change. What happened at Rich Neck, as well as the previous shooting, is a factor of not grouping all of these things together. As a leader, I served 4 tours, 3 to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. I honestly think those situations were better than what I'm seeing now. What are the dots? Mentoring and consistent monitoring parents and leaders. Number 2, effective open line of communication, both sending and receiving, not only to us parents, but to the school, the city, all the way down to the students. Number 3, the most effective possible policy to ensure the measures of security that we put in place after 1/6/23 actually works, because the ones we had in place before 1/6/23 failed us. I'm an avid volunteer, a donor, a parent. I was not notified about the shooting. Neither was my wife, via phone call, text message, and email. Could you imagine your child coming home and telling you the situation and what he witnessed that day? Well, let me tell you how it went. My son said when I picked him up after the fiasco of us trying to get there, Dr. Parker, I've seen you out there, as well as Chief, seen a couple of you out there. My son said, Dad, when I heard the gunshot, our teacher got us into the safe room. We were crying. We were trying to console each other. My son said, Dad, I stepped up and tried to be a leader like you told me to be. We were all crying, but I told him if we be quiet, maybe we won't be next. Could you imagine your 8-year-old child having to tell you something like that? And I said, son, you're brave, your teacher's brave, your student's brave, Rich Neck Elementary student, staff, and faculty is brave. We're raising leaders here, but we want our leaders to know that we have our community as a whole to help us. But let me tell you what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to connect what has happened here into a group of things that we can push forward. Just to make it clear, I'm trying to raise awareness at Abbott Elementary. I am a volunteer, and I'm going to continue to be a volunteer. I have a program called Hoops and Vibe that I'm trying to implement once the school actually opens up and we can get into our round table. This is going to help mentor to these kids. They need somebody. I am that somebody. I've been that somebody. I've been doing the RISE program in Hampton, and as well as I've been doing it here in volunteering, but I can't do it without anybody contacting us. Our administrators failed us. We understand that. Our city has failed us because the policy has failed us. We don't want that to happen again. Thank you for my time. My name is Mark Anthony.
Christopher Bowden. Christopher Bowden. Desiree Yvette. Rebecca Frey and Rebecca Wright. Are you Rebecca Frey and Rebecca Wright?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Fry, along with my roommate Rebecca Wright. We're both student teachers at elementary schools here in Newport News.
As student teachers in your district, we want to feel safe in your schools. Unfortunately, we do not. Our student teaching internship is supposed to be a time of excitement, happiness, joy, and passion.
Our MAT program is well known throughout the community, the state, and even the nation. All of us student teachers are choosing this profession because we want to make an impact on the children in our community. And for the last 5 years, Newport News has been our community. We would love to stay in this community. We really would. However, the lack of support and accountability that we've seen and heard about in just the few short weeks since we've started is extremely disheartening to us.
In an ideal world, student teachers remain in the district they complete their internship. Without real, intentional, systematic change, there will be no retention of your student teachers. We will move to districts who will support us, address our concerns, and will not fail us the way you failed one of your teachers. Thank you for your time. Your job as elected board members is to listen to your community. After over 40 members have spoken, I expect you to listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need a minute.
You're fine.
My name is Desiree Yvette. Thank you. My daughter was a student
of Richneck. She was in that classroom. This is hard for me. As someone said before, I wanted to remain anonymous for the safety of my daughter.
I understand. Can I come stand with you?
Sure. That thing is gonna go off and I'm gonna keep talking.
That's fine. It hasn't started. But yeah,
Okay.
Miss Buffalo understands.
All right.
You're fine.
You've got this, okay?
Thank you. I want to let you know. I want y'all to see my face. I'm not done. And I'm not stopping. But I want you to hear. My daughter was getting bullied before this incident happened. I reached out to every single one of you. My email. You contacted me one time. You texted me, right? I got the principal to contact me after you texted me. I emailed you several times. I'm angry, but I'm determined. So you're gonna hear me. She wrote to me after I called her. She got them to give me a conference after school. That principal never showed up. Never. Okay? One of the people that showed up was Mrs. Warner, who was an advocate for my daughter. When this whole thing started, it started when we started school. And I was still advocating for my daughter, and I'm not gonna stop. Okay? I got a conference with the teacher, the guidance counselor, and the assistant principal. The principal was in the building. She never showed her face. I spoke to them for 2 hours. Do you hear me? 2 hours. She was in that building to address these concerns. And I have receipts, I have timestamps, and I have dates of everyone I spoke to. Okay? We were still trying to deal with this before we went on break. And then this happens. In her classroom, no less. She's 6. She's terrified because the person that was advocating for her got hurt. She got hurt. Okay? There's a lot of things in the media that's circulating right now about what happened, about you guys or the administrative of that school knowing what was happening, and no protocols were taken to prevent it from happening. This should have been isolated beforehand to prevent Mrs. Warner from getting hurt because she was defending and protecting those children. You guys should have been defending and protect her when she came, or whoever came and said that there was a possible weapon in that child's backpack or otherwise. Okay? Dr. Parker, I'm not from here. All right? We moved here in February. All right? I'm from New York. Crazy that I come from New York to come to this. Okay? The comment you made after the incident, today the students learned a valuable lesson in gun violence. You don't say that. They're 6. They're 6 years old. And 7. You don't say that. They witnessed the person, their teacher, right, get hurt. And she still managed to protect them while hurt. Okay? I want you to remember my face, because I'm not going nowhere. And y'all gonna hear me, all right? To the teachers, I want to thank you guys. I am an advocate for my daughter, and I have been an advocate for teachers anonymously. And I'm not gonna stop at all. But I'm gonna tell you this. Listen to your teachers when they have concerns. Please, listen to them, all right? Don't have them get in trouble for opening their mouth, okay? Because they're in the classrooms. Y'all are not, all right? So listen to them. Don't make them feel bad for saying what is going on, because they want to help those students, but they need your help as well. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Have we heard from Julie? I think we did. Julie? Yes. Yes. Jafari Jones? Okay. And then Tracy Houston. I know that's a new card. Tracy Houston. And then the last that I have is Adley Spratley. Are you Tracy?
Yes, I'm Tracy Houston. This is my husband, Mark Houston. I am a parent of a 5th grader at Richneck. I'm here to tell you how he feels. I'm going to stand for my son, Braden, so that you know how he feels on the day of that incident. When he heard the shot and the students huddled in a corner as the teacher barricaded the door, and the text that followed saying, "Mommy, I'm scared. I love you. I think there's an active shooter. There's police." That should never happen. And I, like many of these parents that you've heard from, also did not hear from Newport News until an hour and 15 minutes after. I was notified of the incident by a friend who was at work saying there's been a shooting at Richneck. That should never happen. I have 2 children. My 10-year-old that was a 5th grader at Richneck. I also have a 22-year-old who went through Richneck Elementary School. I am an educator and have been for nearly 30 years. There is a systematic problem in your school system, even identifying children at risk, and it comes down to money. You're not willing to pay the money or hire the staff that these kids need. Plain and simple. I've seen it. I've fought for years, since the time my 22-year-old with an IEP entered kindergarten till the day he graduated, teaching him that he needs to advocate for himself to get what he needs. I will tell you what the words are from my 5th grade student. To you, Mr. Parker, he said that you are at fault. He did not know your title. He called you the soup, the sup. He did not know, but he blames you, and he does blame the board. I believe he heard the meeting in the background when the family was listening to the board meeting that evening. He blames you. You let him down. You let those children down. You let those staff down. You let these families down. There needs to be change. I should never, ever get those texts from my child. I should never be on the other side of a yellow line with helicopters flying around. It should never have happened. In his words, he says, "I'm scared. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go to any of those schools. I want to be homeschooled." I've had suggestions about private schools. Are you all going to pay for that? Because he has the right to a free and public education. Who's going to give him that and ensure his safety? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one thing to say, just one thing.
Sure.
I'm ex-military, and I'll gladly leave my job right now to become a security guard for any school that needs it. Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to do that?
Thank you. I think we have one last card, and it is for Adley Spratley.
We still have people in the audience, I'm sorry, who filled cards out who haven't been called. According to them. This gentleman over here said he filled a card out a long time ago.
Okay. Yes,
Oh,
please.
good. Oh, okay. I wasn't going to speak, but out there I got to do what God tells me to do. So I have a daughter that goes to high school here. My son graduated from Denby High School in 2018, but I am here not as a parent, but as a servant of God. When I was out there, God reminded me of a scripture, 2 Chronicles 7:14. It reads, if my people, now it's talking about Christians, I know everybody have their different religions and that's fine, but I'm talking about to those that are followers of Jesus Christ. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. So when I was out there, it was like God was saying, those of us that are Christians, we need to pray. We need to pray. We need to pray. Because that is the only solution. We may have solutions that can possibly, that we think that are good ideas, but if God is not okay with it, then it does not matter. Because I remember maybe March 2021, I had responded to a tweet that the superintendent had put out about something, and I said, gun violence, I feel in my spirit that gun violence is an issue. This was March. Then in April of that year, God told me to do a fast. I emailed 124 people in the 757, including the Hampton Roads, all across the 7 cities, to join into a fast. Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown, he responded, and maybe a couple of people from the city council responded in regards to that, praying about gun violence. And so it was just something God just put in my spirit for us to pray and for God, seek God's face in decisions that for these decisions, because we all may have good ideas, but we want to be led. And like I said, I know everybody do not believe in the same God, but regardless, God is still God. So I just wanted to get up here and just to give that scripture, because the word of God says if we pray, humble ourselves and pray, then God will heal our land. And right now our school is that land. And so we just need healing for our school systems here in Newport News. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, I have Michael Bartley. Yes. And then the last will be Mary Dawn Carrier.
Hi, I'm Mike Bartley. This is not my first time coming to talk to you. I've come a couple of times, and as always I say the whole point of the education system is to educate our children, and everything else is just supporting that. And what happened was just terrible. But you look at the Miss Warner, she was a hero, and we don't have a word stronger than hero, or else I would use it. The unnamed employee who restrained the child was a hero. The Newport News Police Department that responded the opposite of what happened in Texas and Broward County, they're heroes. The EMS people who came into a warm situation, not knowing if another shooter is there, they were heroes. The administrators at Rich Neck, well, maybe we have to examine what people here would call that. Like for the HR department here, my wife didn't want me talking about this stuff. She was worried about losing her job. And I want her to lose her job so she can go to a place where she's respected, because she's a teacher in Newport News. She talked earlier. But so where she used to work, one time one of the teachers there smacked a child hard enough that kid left in an ambulance. She still works for Newport News. I guess pre-K students are that much of gladiators that you have to hit them that hard. She taught last year at half the pay because she was an assistant. The teacher that was assigned there, when they went from hybrid to normal classes, she didn't show up. She kept not showing up. She got another class assignment. Amazingly, she didn't show up to work. I don't know what it takes to get fired here. And that's probably what's happening, is you're passing people around who should be fired and aren't. But if you want to hire people, she graduated in December, and she was told she could get help from Newport News, City School, HR department. I've emailed all of you about this for help. And it only takes 4 months for them to fill out a provisional application, because they know all the rules you need to get your provisional application. So you graduate in December, it's filed in April. And then when 4 months after the state looks at it, after teachers have already reported, it's done wrong. Your HR doesn't even know how to fill out applications because they don't know that you need CPR training. She got it in one day and then got hired and now is an actual teacher getting teacher pay. Do you actually have a teacher shortage, or are you just not able to process the things in under 8 months? So I don't know if we actually have a problem here, but you guys, the way you've been treating things, that administrator, they probably got like a C-. We can do better. We deserve better.
Thank you. Do I have any other cards? Any other?
Yes. You already have my name.
Okay, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Mary Dawn Carrier. I am a 5th grade teacher at Dutcher Elementary. The last time that I was in this room was for New Teacher Institute. And I feel like that is one of the things that Newport News Schools does well. I felt supported in that. What I have not felt supported in is behaviors in the classroom. You can put posters up on the walls and all day long go over teaching methodologies and all of those things, but the reality is we have a problem in our classrooms. And it doesn't matter how good of a teaching method I have if students in my classroom don't feel safe to be there. You know, we have to, sorry, my brain. We have to bloom before we can Maslow, or Maslow before we can bloom. Sorry, we have to meet those basic needs, and we're not doing that well as a district. There were 3 things I specifically wanted to talk about. Something I've heard from Newport News repeatedly is that lack of teachers is a systemic problem. It's across the nation. But I could name right now probably 10 teachers who have gone on to Williamsburg, James City County, or even Hampton Public Schools, and are sending me constant messages saying it's not like that here. It's not like that here. I'm supported. And I don't want to leave here. I'm a product of Newport News Public Schools. I have 4 children in these systems. How can I put my children in a school system that I'm not willing to teach in, right? I want to be here. This is my city, and I care deeply for it. But it's not like this there. Why isn't it? Are we talking to those administrators? Are we talking to those school systems to find out why it's not like that? I teach at Dutcher. We have no walls, right? I'm on the principal advisory committee. We've had a security conversation multiple times, and I love my administrators. I'll put that out there right now. I don't think they are doing anything wrong. But what I do feel like is we shouldn't be sitting in a principal advisories committee saying, can we please just get the police department to sit and write their tickets in our parking lot? Because we have no officer in our school, and we have no walls. When we go into a lockdown, we don't have a door to shut and lock quickly. We have to take those children somewhere else. And we have no security officer in our school. Why are we having to beg for them to be in the parking lot? And lastly, I've heard, it's not been official, but I will just say I've heard that Friday afternoon is going to be a 3-hour PD next week on how to manage challenging classroom behaviors. We don't need a professional development on how to handle challenging classroom behaviors. That would be a perfect time for that roundtable discussion that you've told us we can have. Please do not make us sit through another 3-hour PD when we could be talking and collaborating.
So one of the things that was planned for this evening was an update on Rich Neck Elementary. So we are making sure that we are able to share that information with you this evening. So I'm going to put us at recess. If you'd like to take a restroom break, this is a good time to do so.
Oh. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Hit your gavel.
Lisa, the item.
I'm Katie Herman, Executive Director of Elementary School Leadership, and I'm joined by Lakeisha Parrott, my partner and Director of Elementary School Leadership, and Karen Lynch, Program Administrator for Extended Learning and Administrator on Special Assignment supporting Rich Neck during this crisis. We are here to provide an update on Rich Neck related to the tragic event that happened on January 6th. In this presentation, we will share the four-pronged approach to continue our planning and support for the Rich Neck school community, which includes an update on staff morale, our planning through the crisis, the anticipated timeline and safety measures being considered. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Lynch.
Thank you, Dr. Herman. Good evening. It has been an honor and a privilege to begin the work with the incredible and dedicated staff at Rich Neck Elementary School. On this slide, you will see an overview of the work that we have started. On January 9th, we held a Zoom with the staff and asked them to complete a survey in regards to staff safety and social emotional health. The three questions we asked in the survey were, what did you need to feel safe? What safety measures do you need to have in place? What other information would you like to share with us? On January 11th, we invited the staff to join school leadership at the admin building for a faculty meeting. After the staff meeting, we met with the Rich Neck's instructional leadership team. After gathering feedback and input, we began a timeline for next steps. Then on January 12th, 13th, and 17th, the Rich Neck staff was welcomed back into the building to work in their classrooms or be a part of the faculty meeting. During the meetings, we revisited PBIS and the crisis plan. The SEL supervisor, Erica Daniel, attended the meetings to provide support and guidance. Members of our school division's crisis team were also on campus to provide emotional support to our staff. And Plant Services has begun to address safety measures as related to feedback from the staff survey. Rich Neck staff is meeting this week to continue creating a plan for students to return to the building. On behalf of the Rich Neck staff, we would like to thank the community for their generous support that they have given us. Everything from decorations, cards, breakfast to lunch, every kind gesture is so appreciated. We feel your love and your support. We would also like to thank and give a shout out to Chief Drew and his team for all the guidance and support during this time. We also wanted to provide social and emotional support to our Rich Neck families. The information you see on this slide was shared with our families for resources available through the Community Services Board. Newport News Crisis Team has been on campus to provide support sessions to students, parents, and families at Rich Neck and will continue to offer support. Dr. Herman?
Through our collaboration with the United States Department of Education, they shared with our team that there are 3 phases to the recovery process following a tragic event. Based on this information, we are currently in the first phase, the rescue phase. The rescue phase could last between 1 to 4 weeks. As you will see on the slide, communication is essential in this phase. Since we know communication is essential, school leadership immediately met with all Newport News principals on January 8th. As you have heard, communication with the Rich Neck staff has been ongoing. Communication has also been ongoing with the Newport News Crisis Team as they support Rich Neck students and staff. To continue to support students and families, food pickup was also established at McIntosh beginning Monday, January 9th. We have also worked hand in hand with Newport News Parks and Rec program to continue to serve our families with before and after school programs. Through this partnership, we were able to extend the programming to include full days for those students at McIntosh this week. Newport News Public Schools also held a town hall meeting with Rich Neck families on January 12th. As we plan for next steps, we will continue to rely on our partnership with the United States Department of Education and to seek input from our families.
During the town hall meeting, we shared that we would like to solicit feedback from our Rich Neck families. Approximately 250 stakeholders participated in the town hall meetings, and 66 families responded to the survey. To date, 60 families have expressed an interest to be included in the focus groups for parents. Later this week, we will reach out to those parents in regards to the next steps.
As we move forward, there are several moving parts that must be considered as we plan for return to learning at Rich Neck. First, our Human Resource Department will reach out to our Rich Neck staff to continue to provide support. Currently, we are addressing staffing needs. We also have to convene with our parent focus groups. We have to first make sure our staff is emotionally ready to teach our students, and our students are emotionally ready to learn. On this slide, we have included the safety measures that have been addressed since the tragic event. I'll let you pause and read. These safety measures are priorities throughout the entire division. As a part of the return to learn process, we are continuing to explore metal screenings, clear book bags, added security, and emotional and behavior services for our students. At this time, Ms. Lynch and I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the parent focus group? Do you have a targeted number of parents? What type of things are you looking for? What do you kind of expect from the parent focus group?
So we asked parents to volunteer to be on that, and there are roughly 60 parents, and so we're going to break those into smaller groups, and we will notify those parents later in the week when we will actually have those meetings, and we want to solicit their feedback about students re-engaging in the building, what safety measures from the parent perspective they feel need to be in place in order for us to be ready to return to learn.
What is the realistic timeline for getting Rich Neck reopened? I know that we've expressed here that we're going in phases, but to provide some level of certainty to parents who are right now having to take off of work, and there are parents who potentially could lose their jobs because of child care issues, what timeline can we offer to them right now?
Currently, we are working with our staff to make sure our emotional needs are addressed, and then we are working with the students. We felt as a team that it's best to inform our staff and then our parents and then the community. So we do, today we worked with the Rich Neck staff to make a timeline. We went, with the design backwards of if we start on this date, what procedures and things do we need in place to make everyone feel safe. We are meeting with the staff tomorrow via Zoom to go over it with the staff to make sure we have everyone on board. We are checking with HR to make sure that we have a staff that's ready to come back, and if not, we have people in place that are qualified to take over those classrooms. So there's some logistic things that we are working out to make sure that this timeline works. Once we go through it with the staff tomorrow and it works out, we will share it, of course, with you, but our Rich Neck families before we share it with the community.
We found that the personnel piece of it is so important. Metal detectors in place are great, but metal detectors in place without personnel to man them isn't realistic. So we want to make sure that we have the personnel there, not only at Rich Neck, but in our other buildings as well. But we want to make sure that we have those people trained and ready to come back and greet our students. So, and I say that cautiously with the fact that next week we have 2 teacher work days already established. So I think we have to also be mindful of where we fall in the calendar. And I think Karen is working diligently with her staff to when they are ready and when we can get students back, we want them back.
And now, and this may be a question more for Dr. Parker. So if I'm a parent out there and I simply, because of my family situation, we can't wait. We can't wait anymore. I need my kid to go back to school. Is there some alternative placement that child can go to a nearby school while we're waiting for Rich Neck to get reopened? What can we do for those families that are in that situation?
So we currently have about 5 students. I think it's 3 families who have reached out to us who are seeking another school location. We have held until we had a timeline in place, not knowing numbers. And so at the end of this week, we'll be reevaluating and letting those families know what our next steps are.
The planning through the crisis slide met with all public school principals. Could you expound on what was actually discussed? Mainly reporting, duty to report, chain of command, communication, levels of incidents, what's required to report amongst your principals.
So when we met with our principals, it was last Sunday evening, right after the incident had happened on Friday. Our entire school leadership department, so myself, Dr. Parrott, Dr. Blow, Dr. Barnett, we felt we needed some FaceTime with our principals K-12, and we gave them the opportunity to ask us questions. We also provided, we did not at that time feel it was appropriate for us to get into the nitty-gritty. Right. We were there to hear what their concerns were and really to be able to respond to them, knowing the next day they were going to greet families and students at their door, and we wanted them to have a level of comfort about what actually transpired and what information we had. You know, I think not all of our systems are broke, so we have some really tight safety protocols in place, and we don't want to change all of that. We want us to continue on the course, but again, we understand that there are some things we do need to tighten up, and there are some things that we are exploring, i.e. some safety things that were addressed this evening. But we felt it was really important for us as school leadership to have that opportunity to have some FaceTime with our folks, just to hear from them, and we were really there to listen to the questions they had, knowing that Monday they were greeting students and many families who had some questions for them as well.
And the reason I ask that question because normally after a incident, you try to capture people's thoughts and emotions and, you know, what they saw, witnessed, or whatever the case may be within 72 hours. Because after that, you know, things vary. But once you do that, then you're also required to come back and do a follow-up because there'll be some clarity later on that may not have been caught when people's emotions are still high. So have there been any follow-up with the principals to see if there's any variance from, 24 hours of a major incident happening, right? We go through all the changes of emotions, right? And all of a sudden people get a chance to breathe. Then you have to come back and capture whatever the space is. You have to capture that. So has there been another meeting with principals?
We have not. Elementary school leadership has not done another face-to-face. We have interfaced with every one of our principals over the course of the week, whether that was a site visit or whether that was a communication via email, phone calls. We've been checking in on our folks daily. I know I don't want to speak for secondary, but I know they have as well. Have you all had a face-to-face with? They're doing the same. We are in constant communication with our building leaders, and probably even more so last week because there was a heightened level of questions and answers that they needed at that time.
Can I just ask a quick question? And I was writing notes, and so in case I missed it, I apologize. When was the the Zoom on 1/8? You said the evening, but do you remember around what time it was?
With principals? 7 o'clock.
Board members, do you have any further questions? Thank you all for sticking around to deliver the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to get just one final motion for our consent agenda.
Madam Chair, if I can be recognized at this time. I would like to make a motion for item 3.01, minutes from the work session December 13th, 2022, 3.02, minutes from the regular meeting December 13th, 2022, item 3.03, minutes from the special meeting on December 13th, 2022, item 3.04, financial reports, revenue report December 2022, expense report December 2022, child nutrition reports December 2022, 3.05, personnel report, and 3.06, budget transfer.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Best. 4. Brown.
4.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
I want to thank you all for your time this evening. We appreciate it. It was challenging to hear some of what we heard, but do know that it's not falling on deaf ears. I'm making the decision this evening that you all take precedence, so your last voice that you hear this evening from us will be yours. And that's important to us. So thank you for coming, and expect to hear from us hereafter. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Yeah. Oh.
Life out of the country around us.